Good morning. So I don't know if it was because the weather was, like, especially cold today, or if it was... Well, it probably had something to do with, the, daylight saving time changing. Yeah. I slept for, like, 10 hours, when I usually sleep for 7 or 8. So, yeah. Things kind of got fucked up. And because of the time change, basically, like, the way Mina's time zones now sync up, like, streaming starting now would have been, like, not necessarily pointless, but I feel like wouldn't be respecting Mina's time. And I know she'd probably be down for however long we could play, but, yeah, I didn't think it, I don't think it would have been a good time, personally. So yeah, we're gonna finish off Path of Exile today. I've got, the build online. So yeah. Yeah, I'm a little low energy too, because, like, again, daylight saving always gets or wrecks my shit, like, regardless of which way it goes. Like, last night I stayed up until about what became about, like, 1:30, and then kind of stirred all night because it was, like, pretty cold, so I didn't get a very good sleep either. But, like, I woke up at what was 9:30, which would have otherwise been 10:30 before the time change, and went, okay, cool, I'm up. I should be... Well, no, actually, I woke up before that. And then, yeah, it was so cold that I just, kind of rugged up again and, drifted off and would let my alarm wake me up. Which, well, first of all, that didn't even go off. I don't know why. It's set up correctly, so, like, I don't know why it didn't go. But yeah, also, I just, like, I wasn't really relying on the alarm, but I also just completely drifted off again, and then I woke up and it was, like, 11:15. So yeah. I'm still sleepy to some degree. But yeah. So, we've got Act 9 and 10 to go through today. I'm thinking it probably won't be too long, given how short the last stream was, or could have been, if I was going as fast as I could have been. I reckon I can get this done today within the regular time, but we'll see. Might be a little longer. But yeah, I have got everything I wanted now. We'll go through talking to people, because I think we are still missing, or we haven't gone through all the dialogue everyone has yet. So we'll do that, get into the next area, and I'll talk about how the build works.
Yes?
Please, Vanya, don't say it.
Say what? I told you so? Well, I never trusted Kira. Her need to control everything, no matter the cost, was never a trait I held much faith in.
Yes, but ambition is not the problem. I have ambition. Do you not...
Of course, I trust you, sweetie, but you're not about to go killing everything that moves in exchange for a bit of power now, are you?
Well, I'd trade dreams of power for dreams of you, my sweets, any day.
Oh, Pataris.
Damn it. Fucking the dialogue timing, Jesus Christ.
Irasha? Well, she's the best we've got. Strong, purposeful, an honorable warrior.
I think the description you're failing to provide, love, is stick in the mud.
Stick in the mud?
Yes, as stubborn and serious as they come.
You just don't like her because she treats you differently.
Irasha is a stuck-up elitist. She refuses to see me as a woman.
Oh, sweets. You're more woman to me than all of them put together.
She does now, huh?
I'll let Vanya take this one.
Thank you, love. I trained in Oriath.
As a witch. Imagine that.
I thought I was telling this story, Pataris.
Yes, sorry, sweets.
I learned all about the old gods. They were supposed to be our idols, beings of divinity that guided us through our mortal lives.
But they aren't like that at all, are they, love?
Hardly. The gods know better than we are, and nobody that is as bad as us should ever wield that much power.
As bad as us? Speak for yourself. I'm positively delightful.
Yes, yes, you're so sweet. They dipped you in a barrel of sugar as a babe. We know.
I like these two.
See ya.
Oh boy.
No matter where you come from or who you might be, we were all birthed by a mother. Our mothers protected us and gave us nourishment. It is our duty in life to honor that great task. Without a mother, none would tread this dirt
Oh my
today.
god.
The most important commandment in our people's tradition is this: honor the mother, honor the life. Arrogant men always seek to control that which they should not, as if that dangling piece of meat between their legs is somehow meant to lead them to power and glory. Men don't have the mind for leadership. Without guidance, they destroy all they touch. Leave the trials of power to women. We, who know how to nurture, how to grow, how to protect.
Oh, man. I mean, that kind of viewpoint, like, makes a lot of sense in this world where, like, I think primarily men outside of the Maraketh have been in power when a lot of shit goes bad. And, you know, one could argue that, you know, she actually has a point. It seems to not work. Look at what happens when it fucking does. Or look at what happens when, you know, you leave them to lead. One could also argue that, like, that hasn't painted a fair enough picture of, like, how people that aren't men would lead. But yeah, I get... You know, it does very much inform, like, why the Maraketh are kind of... are a lot more matriarchal. Because they've essentially, like... Hey, Charles, how's it going? Because they've essentially, throughout history... And I can't remember how old the Maraketh are compared to the other cultures. But, like... Aw, thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. I'm very sleepy right now. Have you been having potions? You don't usually come into chat saying shit like that. Not that it's bad, mind you. I'm just like, hold on, what's happening? As long as you got some water near you. Sorry, where was I? Oh yeah. It makes a lot of sense. You look at history, and the majority of people leading cultures were men, and in Ray class at least, almost all of those cultures exploded, more or less. A couple of them wrought some really awful things, but you could also argue that, and obviously that's within recent history, but, like, there was also the Varl, who, like, was led to ruin by Queen Etziri. But obviously, like, the topic of leadership is a lot more complicated than just gender and what was the outcome. But yeah, like, I don't think we had been proffered, like, a rationale behind why one might see the Maraketh tradition as, like, better than, or a better option than current others. But that does make a lot of sense. Like, yeah, men are all arrogant, and especially once they get power, like, they're arrogant, they look for power, and every time they get it, look at what fucking happens. Yeah, man. I think that really is the first. And that being thrown at Tasuni's, like... I don't know, this is the yeah, it's weird, because, like, this is the second woman that's had a problem... this is the second Mariketh woman that's had a problem with Tasuni. The first time it was Kira, and I was like, okay, Kira, I don't think this is valid at all. I think you're being a bit much. Maybe Irasha's, and at least with Irasha, she's like, well, yeah, he is arrogant, he feels like he can control everything. And he reckons he should lead, but, like, look at what happens when that happens. I'm interested to see where the rest of the dialogue throughout this act goes.
Two of the very few outsiders I've met with like assault. I'm not saying I think they should have as much sway in the Akara as they do, but the fact is, the people like them. Oyun like them. And despite their clumsy attempts to adopt some of our traditions, I like them as well.
Didn't really explain why Vanya seems to think that Irasha thinks she's not a woman. Or not a real woman, quote unquote.
My head is still reeling from what Kira has done to Oyun. That bitch looked at me day in and day out and proclaimed herself loyal unto death. She has shown her true face in the end. Once I thought the old gods were worthy of honor, and I can still see how one might think they are boons to be gained courting their favor. But if such favor comes at the price of Mariketh lives, then I spit on the old gods. And Kira as well. May they all rot in the endless desert.
Fucking tell him.
I would offer prayers up to the goddess of the breeze as a child, and listen to her voice sing and whisper as she danced through my family's wind chimes. She was my favorite. But in light of recent time, I can only believe that some immortal madness has laid waste to her mind. Through treacherous deeds and blind love, the Gemling Queen has taught us much. Her body remains here, surrounded by flowers, a reminder to all of us that we ought to tread lightly when chasing desire. Who can say, after all, where the line is drawn between bold ambition and foolish pride?
It's a very relevant statement today. If you know, you know.
My Dakara and I have vowed to protect our people, and so we keep our eyes sharp, and our blades even sharper. As such, I have plenty of weapons on hand. If you perhaps needed to replenish your arsenal, I'm sure we can come to some agreement. Though you showed a mighty bravery when you slew that horrendous beast, by the thoughtlessness of your actions, you have caused great trouble to fall upon our home. The water runs red with toxic corrupted blood. Now our people must travel far to fill their flasks and feed their livestock. It's as if we're in the midst of a great drought, while the water mocks us from within our own village.
Oops. Oops. Oh, actually, hold on. Sin might still have something to say.
Greetings. A traveler on the winds, Garo-Khan pridefully plundered the sky for its secrets. To her mind, wisdom could be found in the eye of a hurricane. Please understand that Garo-Khan is not an evil being. She was once my friend and companion. Her beauty astonished me as her aspirations inspired me. Yet I must forgo my sentiments for the sake of humankind. Like winds erode the sandstone, Garo-Khan has been warped by the same powers she enslaved. This is not my goddess that you shall slay. And if I continue to say it, I might very well come to believe it.
Oof. That sucks, buddy.
I weep for my poor Garo-Khan. Together we experienced the loftiest moments that this world could offer. Alas, it was my heavy heart that she could no longer bear. I knew her pride would one day be the storm that would ravage my precious humanity. In truth, it was for Garo-Khan that I sowed the dark ember within the depths of Highgate. When love cannot be slain, it must be laid down to sleep. Remember, humanity needs us.
Damn.
Very good.
Alright, Tasuni.
Yes. I know of that dark god perched atop your shoulder. His image comes forth in my mind's eye, and I hear the sound of his breath crackle against the coldness of our mountain air. He has a different energy to the other gods revealed in my dreams. Less hostile, more empathetic to the plight which humanity suffers. Should his brethren be left to roam free? It seems, Lord Sin, as if you are on our side. In the twisting, shifting black smoke of my dreaming, I saw the beast, lying slain at your feet. I saw the rise of the old gods, the rigid, dusty remains, springing in sudden haste to life. I saw the growing of their power. As the corruption began to fade, I felt utter anguish, the madness of the beast's last rapid breath. Yet my sight, my power, still remains. It would appear that I was permanently marked by its corruption, even as I was birthed from my mother's womb. While now, my mother is no longer around to protect me, and the beast lies rotting in the bowels of that wretched mountain. Why ask me about her? That woman doesn't like me very much, and I can't say I'm particularly fond of her either. She seems to have gotten into her head somehow that I am the epitome of all evil, a selfish, blind villain. Nothing can be further from the truth, other than the blind part, of course. I suppose Irasha has good intentions. She truly wishes to see our tribe flourish. However, she is too caught up in ancient traditions to see that for us to truly flourish, we must transcend tradition. We must become progressors of the future, not attendants to dry, dusty history. You've done yourself proud today, Exile.
So this was actually Diallo. Which, yeah. Rip to a real one. Eventually making the right choice. Yeah. So I know there's actually a decision you end up making in this act that is kind of informed by what you feel is going on throughout the game so far. We'll get to that when it happens, but, yeah. I'm actually a bit more torn. If this was actually a choice between Kira and Tasuni, it would be a lot easier of a decision, I feel, because, like, Kira just feels... And obviously, I was getting a bad vibe from her, so, yeah. But yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. So, the build. So there's a couple of things that I changed. First off is the weapon I have. Don't worry about all the text. The most important thing is that it has Battle Mage, that thing that lets the physical damage from my staff be applied to spells I use. The other thing that got added is this, the Eye of Innocence. Gives me a chance to ignite. I take 100 fire damage when I ignite an enemy. And portion of fire damage leached his life while I'm ignited. So, why on earth would I want to ignite myself? Or, sorry, why on earth would I want to take fire damage? Well, it's because of a little guy called Cast When Damage Taken. Basically, this means that when I take damage, there is a chance that when I take a certain amount of damage, I will eventually cast a spell linked to this. The two I've got are Firestorm and Blade Vortex, which I was using before. So the idea here is, I ignite an enemy, I take damage from that, and that contributes to this, which eventually casts those spells. Which means that there are a lot of other spells that have Battle Mage damage applied to it, that all hit, pretty lightly by themselves, but with Battle Mage start hitting a lot more powerfully, And the whole poison thing becomes even more potent. Because basically I'm stepping around, which will ignite enemies. Those will trigger other spells, which will hit enemies, which will also ignite, which will damage me, which contributes to casting other spells. The reason we use this ring, I actually upgraded this one because I realized, like, the very last line on it, recover 29 life when you ignite an enemy. The 100 damage you take from this hits your resistances, and if you cap out fire resistance to 75%, you reduce this to 25. This used to be 20, which would not offset the damage taken, but now it does. So I'm not even damaging myself. I'm damaging myself, but every time I do the thing that would damage me, I also recover more life than I would have lost. So this whole thing ends up in a spell loop. This is like a big thing that the person I took the build from, Joseph, uses in his builds. It's one of the craziest things that kind of exists in Path of Exile, because you can essentially, like, do one little thing that ends up in a cascade of spells that then sustain themselves. So, again, I step, I ignite an enemy, I damage myself, I cast another spell that ends up hitting enemies and igniting them, which damages me, cast spells. And it's pretty crazy to just see, like, start to ramp up too. So we just walk into a bunch of enemies. I also need to keep my mana up, but... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, you can see meteors flying from the sky, you can see all sorts of shit happening. Now, the thing is that spells cast from the, cast when damage taken still cost mana. So, like, you'll notice that my mana is just, like, being emptied out, like, every time I enter, or every time, like, particularly big spells, or spells are cast particularly frequently. But, yeah. Pretty damn strong. Admittedly, a lot of the power, at least, like, in this part of the campaign, is coming from the staff. The mace that I was, or the other unique weapon I was using to get Battle Mage, had, like, I want to say up to about 250 physical damage. Actually, do I still have that in my inventory? I don't. It had about 250 to 300 physical damage. This has, like, almost 600. Oh no, sorry, 520. That's not even a high roll, I think. But yeah, it's stupid. It's a really fun build. Like, you just get to run around, and you hit your mana flask every now and then you just litter the fucking screen with spells. Honestly, one of the most fun builds I've ever played in this game. Yeah, good shit. Does take a second to get going, and, like, it can be rough, like, getting the whole spell loop started if there aren't a lot of enemies around. Like, this is particularly good in maps, because, like, generally there's a lot higher density of enemies in maps compared to in the campaign. Oh yeah, and I wasn't even pressing, like, Plague Bearer or the Earthquake thing, which obviously makes this happen even more. One thing that I think holds the build back just a little bit, at least the way I've built it so far, and I don't really know how to solve it, is chance to ignite. It's between 25 and 30% depending on the skill in question. And I'm not really sure... I'm not really sure how to, like, increase that. Basically, like, the way that applying ignites work is you have to be dealing damage that can contribute to ignite. So, in this case, fire. There are special mods that let you apply different damage types to be able to do that, but fire is obviously fire's the only one we're going to be doing. So you need to be dealing fire damage to some degree. Oh. So, yeah, your Firestorm gets that. Blade Vortex manages to get that too. More damage with bleeding and poison. Okay, yeah. So that one doesn't quite contribute to the poison stuff. Or to the ignite, to the spell loop. Which is fine, like, it doesn't need to. Like, its primary job is to deal the poison damage. Words. Yeah, but the chance to ignite not being 100% means that, like, I could just hit a dry spell. And if there aren't enough enemies around for me to hit consistently, obviously the gaps in actually igniting can be more severe, which is a bit of a problem. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back to town because there's a thing I can do now that I got that side quest done. But yeah, it's a sick build. I really wish there was a way to make it more consistent with the ignites, because I feel like its biggest problem is that it doesn't do it consistently enough, and it probably could be better. The thing is, there's just not a lot of, like... There's not a lot of good ways to get, like, chance to ignite, from what I've seen. I think the best way is honestly, like, a cluster jewel or something, but, I couldn't find a consistently good way of doing it, so, yeah. It's, especially in that part of the passive tree, too, there isn't really a lot of, like, chance to apply ailments. It's usually, like, poison-focused, but, yeah. Hey, I got a blade thing for you.
They found it, Bataris, they found it!
By the gods! Garukhan's famed Stormblade.
Do you know what this means, my sweets? Once we find the right collector...
Oh, we can go anywhere. Have anything. We will be like royalty.
But the storm inside is a problem. It's too volatile in its current state.
You're right. We can't trade away a weapon of such apocalyptic nature.
This
Holy
will
shit.
require some
Pragmatism.
handling, my love. In the meantime, thank you, Exile. Take your pick of our stock.
Have you ever heard much of the Marraketh legends?
A truly unique cosmology of strange creatures, pagan gods, and powerful treasures.
One such story talks of a magical stone dial.
A Marraketh calendar, said to detail important events in the future of our world.
General Adis, a war hero of the Empire, reported in his diaries of discovering a dial meeting that description at a dig site somewhere in the foothills.
It appears the war hero had a secret penchant for archaeologies.
But the cataclysm wiped the land clean and buried the dig site in rocks and sand. No one has been able to locate it since, nor the stone dial.
Seems that with everything that's been going on of late, knowing what's due to happen in the future could be a fairly profitable ability.
We know you would never have use for such a gift.
It would remove all the enjoyment out of adventure for someone like you.
Yet, in
hold
times
on.
such as these, our small folk could do well with a heads up if something particularly nasty were to occur. Besides, a relic like that should sit in a museum.
Or our collection.
Not be lost beneath the rubble where it benefits no one.
If you were to track the calendar down for us, we would pay you handsomely, Exile.
Yes, we are traders of antiquities after all.
I am, like, far more endeared to these two than I remember ever being. Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention to the dialogue that was happening the first few times I played through it, but, like, I really like these two.
A noble legionnaire.
But a legionnaire, all the same.
Pataris and I did our research on Adis
We needed to know as much about him and his dig site as possible.
to make sure he was worth our while.
The general was an eternal commander of the Highgate Legion.
He ran a mining camp up here in the mountains. The bastard was the one responsible for controlling Karui, Marraketh, and Ezomite slaves, forcing them into the black bowels of rockfishes in search of gems.
At least he treated them fairly and as human beings.
A slave is still a slave, my sweets.
Thank
For
you,
all his
Vanya.
faults, the general appears to have been a good man for his time. It's a shame what happened to him. An even greater shame that by the sounds of things, he's come back.
Yes, we'd advise steering clear of his old camp.
Man, if only there were more Gaiuses in the world, am I right, 14 players?
Be careful.
Fucking hell. Oh my god. I mean, like, yeah, I think with like historical context, you do obviously need to think about like the times and that, and it is important to recognize like, oh yeah, good for their time, but obviously not a good person, morally speaking, compared to our own morals. Like, I don't think those two are mutually exclusive to acknowledge, but it is kind of a weird thing when you're like, fuck words. But yeah, but, you know, he was a good man. I think we could rely upon him as, like, he owned slaves. Like, yeah, but, like, he was at least good to them. It's just, like, it's not a very good argument.
An oasis lies to the east. Its waters shielded from prying eyes by a preternatural storm. The sand will rip the very flesh from your bones.
Oh, no.
Should you be so foolish as to enter into its dark shroud. Yet enter you must. The goddess Shakari hides within that golden blizzard, festering with revenge as she resurrects and rebuilds her ancient army. An army that once threatened to shake the very balance of these lands. Should she be allowed to revitalize her troops, the whole of Marraketh will finally fall under the cruelty of her selfish reign. The storm is impenetrable for now, even to the likes of me, but there must be a way in. These Highgate locals, they have an affinity for the desert and harsh weather. One of them may know of a way to disperse the storm. It is not something I deign to speak of often, but this goddess, this creature, she was once the flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. I rose into the clouds and fell into the arms of their queen, the beautiful Garu Khan. Now, if you think that mortal marriages are difficult to navigate, try an immortal one. We parted ways, yet not before my young queen of the sands was born into this world of filth and horror. Now you see how I must suffer for the sake of humanity, to lay mine own daughter upon the sacrificial altar.
Oof. Again, that sucks, buddy.
Bye.
Hey, so can I, oh, hold on.
When I received my first flower of blood, I was given to the ritual of womanhood. All young Marraketh women have to dance with the scorpion to prove themselves worthy of carrying the Dakara's spear. It is no easy task to catch a black Marraketh scorpion. Their tails are swift, their stingers sharp, their poison lethal. I made my way through the trial unscathed, but my sister, we shared a womb, came into this world together. She left it, thrashing and foaming at the mouth. Since that day, I have slept with one eye open for fear of the scorpion's sting. And now Shakari, the mother of all black bugs, rises from the sands. Find that scuttling bitch and kill her for me and for every child, every little girl who has suffered and died by the barb of a countless poisoned tails.
I wouldn't have thought she had much to say about that, but yeah, there you go.
Well,
Hey.
it took some time, but thanks to our Marraketh neighbors,
And their ancient traditions.
we managed a strain of thaumaturgy to remove the storm from Garu Khan's blade.
We even bottled it for safekeeping.
We'd rather not trust anyone with this sort of power, but perhaps you can use it to clear away that sandstorm in the desert?
Find out what sort of nasties are hiding out there in the desert and put a stop to them.
Bottled storm. One should not entice the storm. One cannot invite the storm or give warrant to its tyrant soul. We survive only by appeasing the storm, with gifts and offerings of adoration. We hope that, in its mercy, it shall pass us by. Tempestology of the Marraketh. Repudian number 4. Alright.
Bye.
You know, just pull a sandstorm out of a blade, you know, as you do. But yeah, like, I'm really curious, like, about Sin's whole deal with the, with, like, his daughter and wife. Because, like, I'm curious if they were like that before they turned to gods. Because, like, we understand divinity or godhood to be conferred on mortals who, like, embody some, like, embody something to an absurd degree. So, like, you know, jealousy, dread, fear, all that kind of thing. But it's not very clear, like, you know, was Shakari born of two gods and just conferred some power? Was she, was she born mortal and just became that? Like, what journey led her to become those things? Was it coincidence that the three of them became gods? Well, actually, no. Sin describes it as a marriage between immortals, so that would mean that Sin... or that they had a kid while they were both gods. Never really thought about that much, honestly.
Don't scratch me, Tora. Well, until we're done, that is.
You know what? I don't need this. I shouldn't be engaging in this. I meant to go to the to find Shakari, but I guess I'm going to the Basilisk instead. It's hard to get the like what do you call it? The oh my god, words. The muscle memory off me regarding like just walking through the campaign and that. No, I don't think so. Go away. I'm not dealing with this when the boss is around the corner. Fuck off. Thank you. And yeah, build's good. I'm obviously kind of cheating because... I'm obviously kind of cheating because, like, the stuff I'm using is, like, endgame. It comes from a boss called the Elder, which is, like... an old endgame boss. Oh yeah, did I? Huh, it was actually a bit further away than I thought it was going to be. Sandstorm's gone. Yippee! Alright. But yeah, I feel like also I'm probably not going to be able to, like, talk about much of the endgame if I want to keep this stream, like, relatively short. Honestly, I might see if people like Luca would be keen on, like, sitting in, like, someone to sit and chat with and, like, not someone who, yeah, like, I don't know how many people are actually interested in listening about Path of Exile lore, to be perfectly fair. But, like, some of the stuff is, like, conceptually cool enough that, like, I feel like it could be a good, like, you know, PowerPoint stream. I've kind of wanted to do one of those just as a test run to see if I enjoy them, like, putting them together, doing it on stream and that. Yeah. Anyway, here's Shikari. She's a gigantic scorpion woman. Kind of, not quite Dark Souls Scorpion Woman, unfortunately, because the human part of her is the tail. It's honestly a fucking really cool design. I actually, like, referenced this in a thing I did for my Warriors of Light's, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what you call them, like, psychological, like, manifestations of their psychological scars from the final days of their ancients. And one of them was literally, like, what was clearly a human stretched out and a human skeleton forced into the likeness of a scorpion with the tail kind of like it is here, where it's essentially, like, the top of them. It's almost like a mermaid, but like, Yeah, actually, that's probably the best way to describe it. It's a scorpion mermaid, but, like, it's like you've got the human top, and then the rest of them is from the tail of the scorpion down, and suddenly your arms are the stinger. It's like a very, like... I think this is also one of the first gods that, like, shows their origin of their humanity? Because a lot of them are just like, you know, Ralakesh was a giant bear with antlers, right? I don't think Rislatha had much going on. Yugal was like a giant, like... Well, actually, I think Yugal, you can kind of tell, because, like, they're a bit like the Gaping Dragon from Dark Souls 1, in some ways. With, like, the jaws actually being... the jaws of the creature actually being, like, the rib cage of what it was created
Rest,
from.
my child. Be free from the torments of immortality.
It's a real, like, yeah, Final Days kind of design from 14. It's fucking sick. And yeah, you can make out, like, you can see her arm, zoom in a bit. You can see her arm comes up like this, and then it's, like, grafted into this, like chitinous material, and ends in the point there. Like, that, this is honestly the kind of, like, god designs I'm a huge fan of. Where you can clearly see that this was, like, a human just, like, transformed and morphed into a thing. There's a lot of body horror, obviously, but, like, yeah. Sick as hell.
A mother's keen heart shall bleed into the dreams of her daughter. Once a beauty who held captive the hearts of men and women alike, Shikari's splendor decayed into lust for the power possessed by her skyborn mother. My daughter once sought out such power within the great sands of this desert. Ever determined, she found it, and it made of her the twisted creature you so mercifully dispatched. Driven by agony and shame, she built an army out here in these sweltering lands, and would have conquered the very sky had not the beast soothed her into peaceful oblivion. A babe once more, sleeping in her cradle.
Oof.
I don't feel good about this one.
Took the words right out of my mouth. And given her disdain for the gods and shit like that, her turning around and being like, this feels bad, y'all, is like, that's a big deal. Damn. Hey, I killed him.
Shikari. My sister's death has finally been avenged. Shikari was supposed to be our divine teacher, said to guide us into womanhood. All she ever gave was death. I suppose it's fitting that the teacher has learnt that mortal lesson for herself. Our whole lives, we have lived for the blessings of our goddesses. Yet here they are, in the flesh, proving to us that they are only monsters. Please, let me reward you for your efforts.
Thank you. Nothing more to say.
Yes?
Nothing more to say.
You have done well, but our concoction requires both acid and powder.
Oh.
Return to me when you have collected the second partner in our corrosive duo. Farewell.
But wait a moment.
No, never mind. Alright, grab that one. And then we go back to the foothills, and we go and track down this calendar that, the two want. Now, the problem with tracking down this calendar is that the enemy who has it, the boss who has it, is somewhere in this area, but I've always had, like, a kind of hard time... Oh, there they are. I know it's... Yeah, I know it's somewhere on a ridge, but, like, given the way this area is structured, it could be on the, like, left or right relative side of the map. Ooh, Jesus. Sometimes it's like really early on, sometimes it's really late, and this area is just wide enough most of the time that it can be a little hard to see where that thing ends up. But I'm glad I opened my mouth because it made me look like a fool, but that means that it went quickly. So all is well. And yeah, I did end up grinding up to level 69. Nice. Just to make sure, like, I could get all the items I wanted to for the build to work, and also, what is my spell suppression chance? 51. 5, 10, 22. That'll make it 73. Yeah, with lucky, that's pretty much all I need there. So we'll probably... I don't think I'm going to get 3 more levels, but then we'll probably get 3 more passive points, so... Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I'm definitely not immortal. And because I'm actively taking damage too, like that... I don't know how the calculate... Oh, has committed suicide. Jesus, yeah, I killed myself. Whoops. So I guess that's one thing about the build, is like, be very... Oh, you know what it was? I think one of those must have been an elemental... Yeah, an elemental, weakness curse, which lowers my resistances, which probably lowered my fire resistance below 75, which meant that I wasn't gaining life every time I, ignited something. So yeah, make sure it like, I don't know if people are gonna... This isn't a build guide, but like, be very wary of stuff like that. Spell loops are very fragile, and they will explode if the slightest thing is not correct. Yeah. But yeah, like, because the way that Sin then explained, how Shikari became what she did, it very much sounded like, she wasn't inherently divine, or perhaps just did not have the power, her mother and father did, so, you know, she went searching for ways to become more powerful. And in doing so, she found whatever power she found in the desert, and it warped her, which then yeah, Sin's explanation, I believe, but I'm having a little trouble parsing it, because it's unclear if, like, if in being warped, Shikari was ashamed of what she had done and rose the army to, like, some ends to, like, restore her honor or something, or if, the warped power... Or if the power warped her in such a way that she... yeah, I'm not really sure which way to take that, honestly.
Our relic hunter returns.
You could make a regular go at this.
How about it, hero? Leave behind your warmongering ways and work for us.
No? Well, never mind. In any case...
Here's that reward we promised.
We love respec points. Yeah, we go back to the quarry. Okay, so there's 2 side objectives we need to do here. One is actually finding Oyun, and the other is in the side area, or in the area that links to here, which is getting the powder for Sin. Actually, I just had a thought regarding my mana. Because I don't think... Let's get into the next area and I'll look at my passive tree. So I don't think... Yeah, that's with attacks. It doesn't really work. I killed 2% of mana? It's probably better. What would I sacrifice for that? Actually, probably these 2, honestly. Ooh. That does give me strength, though. which I know is a bit of a problem before. I think if I take away 20, that would give me 146, which is exactly what I need right now. Okay, that works. Fuck it. Yeah, so let's get rid of you. Oh. Oh. God damn it. Damn, am I really... yeah, I suppose I'm not too big on them. Okay. Honestly, I could get rid of this. And then these two. Then grab that one. And then grab this. Because even like a little bit of mana per kill would go a long way to helping the trigger situation. Because at the moment I'm hammering my mana flask, but I feel like that's not getting it back up enough for it to trigger as frequently. And if you don't have the mana and you take all the damage, you don't cast the spell. Like, you need the mana. And I'm not sure the way it works like that. If like, say the threshold is 500. If you go over 500 and you don't have the mana, does that, like, go back down and you need to re-trigger it again? Does it, like, wait until the next hit and then cashes out the entire damage you've taken once you've got the mana? I'm actually not sure the way that works. I should look into that. Again, this game is, like, very particular about its mechanical complexity, so, like, yeah. Curious how that actually works. Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'll still keep the mana flask up, because obviously I need to kill enemies to actually get the mana back, but, like... yeah, this is, like... that is recovering mana so much quicker. Hey, buddy. I can do earthquakes too, asshole. Die. No, grab the... thank you. Blow it all down. The Emperor must have his gems no matter the cost. Awesome.
Science and alchemy again. Such a bad idea.
Honestly, I'd be... I know it's a lot of voice work, but I'd honestly be curious to see, like the player characters responding to specific things from their cultures and that. Generally, it's like, everyone has the same dialogue triggers, but they'll obviously have different things to say. I feel like there are certain points at which, like, you know, maybe in the conversation with Pitaris and Vanya, if you're a witch character, after you have the dialogue that says something about them being... Vanya training as a witch, she'd be like, ooh, a fellow sister, or something like that. But yeah.
And so my mistakes are put to rest, and the mighty general has fallen. We honor them both with this brew.
Do we have to honor the general, though? You sound like an asshole.
A nice cup of what we need. There has never been a substance more corrosive than this, apart from my dear Garo Khan's sarcastic wit. Let us meet soon at the blood pools surrounding the Legion, and from there we shall burn ourselves a pathway into the belly of the beast.
I know it's not quite a ball and chain wife joke, but like, that's so goddamn close. It's so weird hearing that coming from Sin. Like, what the fuck do you mean, man? It's your wife. God. God. Even being immortal can't stop you from being a straight man. Oh, fuck. I don't know why a god using dry humor like that is so funny to me. That's fucking hilarious. Hey, Kira. Are you a bird? Oh. Well, there's Garo Khan. Yeah, so this fight's a bit annoying as, like, this build, because, as you can see, there's a lot of sandstorms with, like, enemies I need to kill in the sandstorms. Hero 7 of Garukar. She get, like, transformed into something? What the fuck is going on? I never actually realized Kira had, like, a kind of eagle head. Ugh. Come on, aftershocks. Work your magic.
My love. You were too beautiful for this ugly world. I shall find you in the next.
Yeah, I must admit, you picked a good one, Sin.
It shames me to know the horrors wrought by our hands here and now. Garo-Khan was complicated, but she was also stubborn, and never would have thought to change her ways. We have given her a sky burial. That is the best we can do. Even in the old times, she was vain beyond comparison. It was her ambition that corrupted her, despite all my warning words. Well, look now, where ambition has gotten you, my love.
Oof.
She must have been an incredible woman in her time. I can see why you loved her.
Gay, confirmed. And yeah, with that, we've killed all of the gods minus Kitava. So, God Slayer, we truly are. Gonna go out on the... Oh, yeah, there's Oyun. God damn it, Kira. And how shall we know a Sekema worthy of rule? By the anointing of the great rock, under whose wing we grow and soar. Deliver the Sekema feather to Tasuni or Irasha. Whoever gets the feather will rule Highgate. Okay, so if this was Kira and Tasuni, it would be Tasuni hands down. I'm honestly a little torn.
Oyun was my friend. To depart this world in the manner she did is...
barbaric. And without a protector for the tribe, we're sitting ducks here. Tasuni thinks he can rule, but he's seduced by all manner of dark things.
There is no easy fix here. I'll be awake for many nights to come.
I'll be right beside you, my love.
Let's not fool ourselves, love. You'll be sleeping.
In any case, it'll be time to crown a new chieftainess soon.
Or chieftain. Tasuni is next in the bloodline. Sure, he doesn't mind breaking a few rules, but at least he's no Dominus.
I do hope you're joking, sweet. The Maraketh are a matriarchy. The men here aren't used to being in charge. Tasuni would ruin everything the mother stands for.
You would have them crown Irasha.
She's strong, stable, and traditional. I don't see why she shouldn't rule.
Because, ironically, Tasuni has the one thing that Irasha lacks.
What's that?
Vision.
Good luck.
Thank you. Oh, fuck. That's a really good point. Man. I know, like, ultimately this choice doesn't matter. Like, it's pure flavor. But I like that it is, I like that this is actually a thing you can do. It's kind of neat. But then, like, I look at my actual decision I need to make, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. Because, Vanya is right. Like, Tasuni is very focused on, like, not necessarily following tradition, and not being beheld by it. And I'm put in mind, honestly, of the whole New Vegas thing, where, like, yeah, Caesar's plan, or Caesar's legion is obviously bad, but given the circumstances, it actually is one of the few ways it is a way that it is a way, a horrible way, but a way to keep to navigate and keep to navigate a chaotic state of the world and keep people alive. But obviously by killing everyone that disagrees and shit like that. It's not as extreme here, but Irasha would, like, be reinforcing tradition and keeping rule, which arguably is something maybe the Marraketh need going into such a chaotic state of the world. But at the same time, that thing has been the thing that's been keeping them here, stuck here, festering until Kira kind of messed things up. So, like, Tasuni seems like it would be he seems like he would be a breath of fresh air, but as Irasha correctly pointed out, he is a man of ambition, and ambitious men with rule and power do not do good things generally. And we know that because Path of Exile history, at the very least, within this narrative. Fuck it, I'm gonna give it to Irasha.
Not since the fall of Destret has this Akara seen so sad a moment. Our gods are false. Our Sekima is dead. But you?
Oh, fucking hell. I guess I just missed that entirely then. Fuck. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna see if I can pull up that dialogue. Ayun is gone, not since the fall of Deshret, has this Akara... Oh, this doesn't even have the, option for what Tasuni would say. Fuck. Not since the fall of Deshret has this Akara been so sad, seen so sad a moment. Our guards are false, our Sekima is dead, but you, outsider, you offer hope. Without the feather, Tasuni will be unable to take control of Highgate, no matter how much he lies and whines. My people will never allow it. And Oyun's passing leaves me with only one course of action. I will take the Sekema feather and mount the saddle of Highgate. It will be a difficult journey ahead. Our faith has died with the gods you have slain, yet I know in my heart that we will find a way to go on. For your troubles, outsider. Perhaps I was wrong, and you can come from beyond our... And good can come from beyond our borders. I don't get to see what Tasuni would have said. Maybe on his character thing? The shadows are lifting at last. Hand in hand, you and I, we have guided my people towards a brighter future. I suppose you would, you wonder why I do not mourn? For my sister, for Oyun? Why should I? There is no sense in shedding a tear for those who stand in the way of progress. They have passed from this coil, and that is the best thing either could have done for their people. With our poor Sekema removed from her saddle, the way is clear. In lieu of a worthy leader, I shall step up, and with the backing of my followers, claim the throne of Highgate. Irasha may spit and curse, yet her duty shall overcome her distaste. She will bow to me as custom dictates. So rule for thee, but not for me? Okay, maybe I did make the right decision. Suni seems like he's being kind of a cunt about this, I'm not gonna lie. Jesus. Wow.
When I was 12, 3 men came out of the Vastiri plains and set their eyes upon me. They asked me for water, but took much more. When the woman of Highgate finally caught them, I was given an opportunity to enact the execution myself, an offer I gladly took. Even at 12, I knew the price for betraying the Akara. Tasuni knew Oyun was to perish at the hands of that overreaching bitch, yet he did nothing to save her. Should I ever be in a position to punish such treachery, I shall do so with pleasure. As a child, my mother told me stories of the old gods, that they were to be feared and venerated, that they embodied the everlasting spirit of the Marraketh people. But this false queen, Garukan, she was nothing but a goddess of lies. by accepting Kira's slaughter of Oyun as a sacrifice of worth, the goddess has played her part in forsaking our most sacred tenet. Honor the mother, honor the life. The bones of our tribe mother have been ground into the dust by this divine insanity? The old gods can't follow the very traditions they themselves set forth, then how can we? Perhaps the time has come to forge our customs anew, in our image, not those of false and selfish gods.
I gotta be honest, that seems like a far more reasonable actual outlook on this, rather than like, fuck all the traditions, or screw all of that. Like, listen, I'm not a big fan of traditions, but, like, in terms of, like, in their abstract within a narrative, I don't think they... Well, I think they should be interrogated slightly differently, and I'm gonna be honest, Irasha seems to have a lot more balanced outlook on that than Tasuni, which is just like, fuck it entirely. And she is, like, clearly talking about, like, forging them anew, which I would argue is progress, but...
It seems as though fate shan't be content with just the taking of my eyes. It is pernicious enough to steal my vision from me as well. I have planned to lead my people to a brighter, better future with the passing of our dear Oyun. But fate uses you to torment me. Still, I must not despair. Time is on my side, and in Rayclast, nobody remains as Sekema for long.
Yeah, I'm still getting bad vibes from you, my dude. Fucking rancid. Like, it takes a fair bit for me to side with, like, the person who's like, oh yeah, maybe traditions are good, and... yeah, I don't know, it really feels like Tasuni... It kind of feels like, It's kind of a thing that the Outer Worlds does, where, like, it'll show, like, an obvious good side that I may... Well, it will show a side that I probably agree with, that is very much anti-capitalist, anti-corporation, but then they'll tack something on the side of it to make it, like, less of an obvious choice, in my opinion. Here, I think they've done a better job of showing that Tasuni is, like... Or... Better job is not the word I want to use. It's a more believable kind of downside than just a thing bolted on as well. Tasuni is, like, throwing away everything for progress, and I think, like, especially in a situation where things are not stable, I think that can kind of be a mistake. Because, like, and especially in contrast to Irasha, who seems to, like, acknowledge that, like, yes, tradition was important to us, but clearly our traditions have been built on a foundation of lies. We need to rethink this and forge new traditions. Like, that kind of, like, structure can be helpful in times of big chaos, but obviously too structured and it can't change, which it may need to. But I don't see the balance between those thought of by Tasuni, and he also seems to regard Irasha taking on the role of Sekema as just kicking the can down the road, effectively. Like, it doesn't matter who you elect as Sekema, eventually it's going to come to me, and I'm not going... And, like, clearly, like, yeah, the thing that gets me, I think, about Tasuni in this reading... Like, before I was like, oh yes, the dark person in corruption, we shouldn't choose him. Now that I've actually read through the story a bit more and paid attention more, my actual problem with him is that he doesn't seem to give a shit about the people around him. Like, he doesn't seem to give a shit that their leaders are dying, and he seems to think that anyone supporting tradition is worthy of death, which, like... Or rather, not that it's worthy of death, but, like, he's not going to help them. And I think, like, if you, like, I'm sorry, but, like, you helping your people being contingent on you having power is not a good indicator for me.
Here we stand, amidst the coagulating remnants of my creation. Funny, isn't it? Once I placed my beast on a pedestal as my pride and joy. Yet now I send you to breach the hull of my pet's fouling black core. I have brewed for us a potion from the remnants of our harvesting hunt. I shall apply this fermentation to the weakened membrane and meet you within the black core where we shall further our agenda.
Alright. Time to wrap up Act 9. There's barely any story from here, it's all,
This entire
running
mountain
through.
is one gigantic corpse.
Sure is. It's a good thing I can just kind of fly through now. We can just, get to the end as fast as possible. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Yep, thank you. Alright, I see.
Something doesn't seem right. Yes, it would appear our old friend Malachi has one final trick to play. A thaumaturgical wound to the hearts of my precious beast. This complicates things, but not perhaps so much that there is nothing we can do. Exile, listen to me. I'm about to release the souls of our unholy trinity from their decanter. Their anger will exude more power than you have experienced ever before. You must defeat them one by one to fuse their remnants into something volatile enough to coax the dark ember from its womb. Ready yourself.
Oh, goody.
The souls of these three continue to surprise us. Quickly now, the hearts have become doorways. Enter in, complete your mission, though I cannot say exactly what you will find on the other side.
Alright. And yeah, these are essentially just 3 gauntlets before the Act 9 boss.
Pruning a branch can save a tree.
Hi, Chevron. Ain't shit.
The souls of these three can...
Oh, okay. You don't actually have any dialogue for me. Now, one thing that is kind of, I wish it was something with this build that I could probably counteract a little bit, but the 2 nukes I have for this build, that being Plague Bearer and Vaal Earthquake, don't trigger any ignites, which means that I can't amplify the rate at which I'm I can't amplify the rate at which I trigger spells, only the rate of damage that I do. Which is kind of a problem, because, Blade Vortex I need to be able to sustain, to have it hit. And if I'm not, igniting enough, then, yeah, that's obviously a problem. I should probably see if I can find a way to, add even, a minuscule amount of, fire damage to attacks. Because I think, at the moment, the reason Vaal Earthquake is pure... I think the reason Vaal Earthquake at the moment is pure physical and chaos damage is because the damage dealt by the staff is entirely physical. Well, the battle mage component of it, rather. And honestly, that's why I often run through just not pressing either Plague Bearer or Earthquake, because if I press either of those, more damage is coming out from the things that aren't giving me ignites, which means that I get less out of it in that perspective. But obviously, if you can kill shit fast enough, then who gives a crap, but... It's just a mechanical feeling thing, especially if you manage to get the, especially if you manage to get the, ignite loop healing you. Getting it to actually trigger faster is actually healing you faster, so it's obviously, like, a benefit. But, yeah. Alright, I did it.
At last, our trio joins to become one foul spirit. Destroy that creature of darkness, and let us be rid of this place.
Alright. No, don't run away. Also, it's hard to see because I'm going to be moving around a lot, but yeah, the Dark Trinity is essentially a combination of the three. And they'll use attacks from all of them. Like, those are Malagara's Chaos Spears. That puddle is from Deirdre. I'm sure we'll see a Chevron thing in a second. Oh yeah, the orb there is a Chevron thing. Although it's like, ugh! The lightning is also that as well. Oh shit. I might be in a little trouble here. Never mind, my flask refilled. Thank you, Rislatha.
I'm finally ready. Time to return to Oriath and end this.
Goddamn right. Hey, Lily.
You're questioning me, the great sea mistress Lily Roth, about how she so happened to find you failing at drowning on some godforsaken fleshy piece of land. Thought it'd be obvious. Grandfather and we came to thank you for our little reunion here you started. Caught wind that you were playing around up here with that dead beast from the locals. So we followed your trail, dreading we'd be finding your body bits strewn all over this godforsaken mountain. But lo and behold, what do we get? Our favourite exile twiddling their thumbs. Your lucky old Whalem's still got some thaumaturgical prowess in his bones. How the hell did you end up here anyhow?
Re-killed the
I
beast.
suppose you'll be wanting us to ferry you over to Oriath. Take care of that nasty cannibal god Katava once and for all?
Yeah.
Well, we'd be glad to oblige. There'll be plenty of treasures in ruined Theopolis just sitting there for the taking, I'm sure. Say the words and we'll set the sails.
Alright.
Assignment?
I ain't gonna lie to you, friend. You look like actual shite. Like a real big steamy pile of goat droppings. What in the bloody hell happened to you since we last crossed compasses? Well, never fear.
Gestures behind me at the giant mountain corpse.
Here to save the day. I guess I owes you a bit on account of bringing Lily and I back together.
Honestly, I thought I would get more indication of how this actually happened, but apparently not.
Aye, as you can see, finally found a missing powder in my shot pouch. By that I mean my courage.
Yeah, thank you for explaining your goddamn
to
metaphor.
Lion Eyes watch to see my granddaughter finally.
Ah.
Tell you, I don't know what in the blazes I was fretting about. She took to me like a fish to water. It was as if no time had passed at all. Anyhow, it'd be lucky for you that we did so, as we were out looking for you to offer our thanks. Followed me compass, listened to the thaumaturgical whisperings of my ship, and next we know, we'll be following a trail of blood and guts leading straight to you, wasting your time in the middle of God knows where.
Awesome.
Always keep your eyes on the horizon.
Good tidings to you. Ready to go?
Alright.
Just in time as well. Grandad says there's a good thaumaturgical headwind blowing our way.
Awesome. I probably should have looked around a bit more there. Oh well. Before we talk to anyone, though... I'm gonna go back to Act 9 and see what people have to say now that I cleared out the beast again.
What was that earthquake caused by? Some sort of death shudder from that volatile beast? I've no thaumaturgical bone in my body, yet still I can sense the corruption seeping out of the cracks in that mountain. This can't be. Why would you disturb its rest?
Hush now, sweetie. The situation is more complex than you would first think.
The Maraketh sat under the curse of the beast for thousands of years. They'd just gotten free, yet now you do something to bring the source of its darkness into our very presence. This is unconscionable. It's
the right choice. Would you rather a hostile reign of warring immortals? Our hero obviously has some kind of plan in mind. If this shift in the mountain can remove the gods from Rayclast, then I, for one, am happy to be shook up a little.
Well, whatever the case, at least we have each other.
And we are strongest when we stand together.
Irasha holds the feather. Then Highgate has been saved. She may not be in the bloodline, but she holds fast to their traditions, and that's all that matters. Just think, Tasuni may have steered the tribe into dangerous and unknown territory.
The beast you know is not always better than the one you don't, my love.
See ya.
There I was, tending to the animals when the ground moved beneath me. It was like the whole earth groaned in pain, a cry unlike I've ever heard. The mountain trembled, and for a moment it seemed as if death was due to visit us, here in Highgate. I don't know what you did, outsider, but I hope you did not hurt the mountain. She is our mother, and if a stranger were to wound her, I would slit their throat myself.
Alright. That was not the reaction I was expecting to get.
By the gods, and by the death of gods, you still live. I don't know what you did, but I can sense something has shifted. A weapon has been discovered, perhaps, to turn the tide of bloodshed, brought on by these sickening gods. Tell me, what did you find? No, I mustn't inquire, for fear of losing my mind as well as my eyes. Oh, I am struck by a peculiar yearning, Exile. It is as if I am a man stood on the precipice of a cliff, with an insatiable longing for the ground. Please, leave me before the frenzied voices inside my head devour my body and soul. Hunt well.
Alright. That's an interesting reaction as well. Huh. What did we get from...
It
Hey.
is good to see that you survived, my friend. But then, you...
Ah, fuck.
It is good to see that you survived, my friend. But then, you have fared far worse. The froth of a violent ocean should be no problem for you. While we have been absent, Oriath has become a necropolis, a swarm of Kitava's wretched servants. The situation looks more dire than I had first anticipated. Before we make our move, we must know what we are dealing with. I send you, Exile, as a scout. As the only scout that would stand a chance moving through the shifting forms of this nightmare. You must discover where Kitava resides. Only then can we issue our final blow. You needn't fret. The Dark Ember is still safely in my possession, and will remain so until our final confrontation with Kitava. That carnivorous blasphemy will fall like a log cut from the darkest of forests, and we shall watch him burn as Oriath and the rest of this world breathes a sigh of relief. Lily Roth is a noble... how do you say it? Scallywag? I have witnessed the rise and fall of many great men and women over the eons, and Lily is well on her way to being amongst the very best of them. I suspect one day her name shall be sung in salty taverns the world around. I must remember to keep on her good side, now that she can see me. The beautiful pirate princess hunting down the great god Sin would make for a fantastic tale, I'm sure. But one I would rather have remain in the pages of fiction. Aside from my own presence, I no longer feel the vibrations of other gods. Though there may yet be more out there, for now, Rayclast can breathe a sigh of relief. However, we must turn our sights to Kitava, who still gorges himself on those poor souls trapped in Oriath. You have drunk your fill of my kind. The essence of deity courses through your veins, waiting to be expunged upon a chosen victim. We can only hope it will be strength enough to face that demoniac of a god.
Demoniac of a god,
Remember,
goddamn.
humanity needs us.
Alright, I think this is a good time to take a break. Yeah, so there's obviously the big political unrest in Act 9, but other than that, that's like really the one thing. The rest of it is just tracking down, finding the beast, and then killing the 3 others in there. But now we enter the climax of the campaign, yeah, a hell of a task ahead of us, heading through, well, finding, first of all, where Kitavo is. But, yeah, there's a few quests to go through yet. As you can see, there's a lot of people who want to talk to me. Don't worry about Divinia, that's a different thing entirely. But yeah, when we come back, let's pare away at the final act. I'm back. I forgot to fire up Moobot. I'm very good at this. Alright. As an aside, I'm having so much trouble fighting off the urge to go and play to buy into Path of Exile 2. Like, the discussions happening around it, I wish I had a little bit more, insight to actually, like, inform myself, like, to keep myself informed and, like, not just, like, you know, relying on other people's opinions about the game to, like, judge it. It's gonna be hard to fight off that urge, because I do wanna, like, I wanna try and stream, like, I wanna stream my first playthrough of it, and, like, you know, from the story perspective, because, like, they are trying to craft a story that's, like, interesting. And by all accounts, like, the actual campaign, when it's balanced correctly, people are having a lot of fun with it. Like, they have concerns about the length, obviously, because, like, the long-term way you play Path of Exile is very different from your first playthrough. But if the difference between the length of time to beat the game is not varying, then people have concerns about how much time they're actually going to spend with it. But, like, beyond, like, higher level things I can talk about, it feels like, yeah, like, and especially, like, if I want to throw my hat in the ring and, like, try and provide feedback, like, I need to kind of buy in. And I find that important, because I do really care about this series. But is that better or worse than, I mean, I could do a second playthrough where I do it kind of like this and just actually listen to everything a second time through. And I might be able to provide better commentary on not seeing it a second time through. Fuck, maybe I will get it. Because I want to give feedback. Like, I want to help. And if I have to buy a supporter pack to, like, get into early access and I kind of ruin a pure first playthrough of it, like, yeah, maybe that's worth it. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But I've gotta finish this first before I even think of that.
Well,
yeah.
Once more, you owe me for letting you sail around on me ship. But that's okay. I'm the kind of gal who can play the long game. Sometime in the future, I'll be in need of your services once more. You can pay me back then. All right, come on. You got a job to do. Lives to save, goals to kill. Better get to it.
Okay.
That Bannon's a real siren if you ask me. Even after the beating is taken.
Oh.
Bulging muscles.
Hold on. Alright.
Wait for no man.
I suppose I should listen to Sin then, and... Oh, actually, let me talk to Lani. Lani probably gives me the actual quest here.
The prodigal returns. Have you brought with you a weapon to free us? The ravenous one has only grown more hungry since you left us, and I fear your efforts may be too little, too late. Kitava has all but destroyed us here, and our poor departed Utula's cultists have taken hold of the city. There's little ground left to tread that won't cause the grasping claws of Hinekora to reach out and wring our pretty little necks. I see your eyes, Exile. You wonder why I am here instead of at the Overseer's Tower. I'll tell you the horrible truth. The tower has fallen to the infernal devices of Kitava. That witch, Violenta, is to blame. She lowered a secret ladder and led Kitava's cultists right to our very beds. Bannon and I barely escaped with our lives. Together, we cut through the hordes, but it was no use. They had us surrounded. Bannon created a distraction which allowed me to flee. When I last saw him, he was perched atop the rooftops, holding off our enemies, though how long he will last, I cannot say. If you are going that way, perhaps you can find him and return him to me. I have grown fond of that Templar. The fire of Namahu burns within his belly. It would not fare well for us in this war if that fire were lost. Remember, we do this for freedom.
Can't see why I'd want to do that here.
Huh? Oh, that might have been queued up from when I accidentally pressed the right click. Oh. Alright, time to find Bannon.
You there! Exile!
We found Bannon. Oh, hey Bannon, what the fuck is that? Why are you flowing with divine energies, my guy? Oh.
Phew. I would thank God for you, my friend, if that weren't too on the nose. I felt for sure that this time it was my turn to depart our world. Kitava's cultists surrounded Lani and I a while back. We split up and I led a distraction so she could make best her escape. Funny, I really should have considered my own plan for evasion once I'd allowed her hers. In any case, it is good to see you again, Exile. Let us talk more in a safer space. I shall meet you back at the docks. Phew. I would...
Excuse me.
Good to see you made it back. You look at me with suspicious eyes. Yes, I know you have your apprehensions about me, and my new indwelling spirit. But if it helps a little, I feel innocence stirring inside me, awakening with an odd sense of gratitude towards you. It was, after all, your bite that returned him to humility. Allowed the scales to drop from his eyes. If you are to go wandering the city in its current state, be careful where you step. Kitava's cultists are constantly on the prowl, actively seeking food for their god. What's worse, the passage to Kitava's feast is blocked off by two large black gates. We call them Kitava's horns, and they are utterly impenetrable to the motions of man. There is but one way in which we can reach Kitava and deprive him of his eternal meal. The staff of Avarius lies somewhere amongst the rubble of the Chamber of Innocence, still billowing with holy power. If you were to find it and return it to me, I believe the power in the staff will act as power enough to break through the horned gates.
Alright. We got a plan. Oh, we got a lot of dialogue to get through.
While they had me trapped, I heard those cultists' mad gibberings. Their words were akin to that of the Ray-classed cannibals. Nonsensical sentences, accompanied by the most unsettling of cackles. I fear that they have indulged too deeply into Kitava's famed habit, and caught the laughing plague that so often accompanies men and women who choose to engage in the consumption of human flesh. As I'm sure you've noticed, that damnable god Kitava no longer resides on the rooftops, as last you were here. No. The monster has acclimatized himself to Theopolis. He has set up quite the banqueting table for himself. It appears he believes he has a lot of consumption to catch up on. Best I can tell, his new residence lies through the ravaged Oriath Square, and past the canals, now the feeding troughs. Heed my warning, friend. Tread lightly through that area, for those cultists are out and about once more, actively seeking food for Kitava to devour. I wouldn't blame you for being curious about the god now dwelling within me. In truth, I'm honored to have been chosen to be Innocence's vessel. You may hear this and think I sound like a pious Templar fool, but it is hard to remain an unbeliever when the gods walk around you, and indeed one sleeps inside you. No need to fear, however. Our poor purity god surely regrets the actions of his past.
Surely.
I can't see him, but I can feel his spirit, wounded and cowering somewhere inside me. At night, I hear him whimpering over his wounds. must say you hurt him good. But as much as I feel his pain, I also feel a budding newness in his heart. He is growing again, and relearning the compassion for humanity that he had long since lost. The Chamber of Innocence is exactly where you left it, though cultists and vandals may have had their way with it since last you visited. Innocence himself no longer cares for the place. In fact, I feel a pained revulsion for it, hence why I cannot go myself. But I'm certain you are more than capable of forging a path through that broken temple once again. Back when the cultists took control of the city, the very ground itself shook, as if pained by some dark abomination. The gnarled horns of Kitava erupted from the earth like spiraling pillars of corruption, weaving together a barrier impeding travelers from moving through the city. Don't ever give up.
Then it is as I feared. Kitava's strength has grown insurmountable in our absence, and his horns now deny us entry to his feeding trough. Evidently, the hungry god has grown picky about what crumbs now travel towards his burgeoning throat. It is this strength that concerns me. I have spoken with our friend Bannon over there, a willful vessel of my misguided brother. I knew eventually we would need to enlist my brother's services, though I had hoped we need not do so this soon. Yet, it seems that we have no other choice. We must invoke my dormant brother, slumbering within Bannon's frame. Kitava's horns are a thing of great corruption, which only Innocence's purity can dispel.
Oh, fun.
Before we proceed, I feel I must confide something in you. Bannon wishes me not to speak of it, as he is willing for the sacrifice. However, I feel you should know. Once we invoke Innocence, once we dredge him up from his cocoon inside the soul of Bannon, the man shall cease to be. Only the god shall remain. Do you understand what I say, Exile? If we take this path, Bannon will die. Excruciatingly so. Burnt with purity from the inside out. As I said, Bannon is willing to commit his life to this cause. But perhaps you should say your farewells before we move past the point of no return. Remember.
I'll see what I can do for you.
Can't talk to him more about that. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna exhaust everyone's dialogue. I've exhausted Bannon and Sin. I'll probably do the next quest objective, then come back, then exhaust more dialogue, then go and do... Yeah, there's a little bit of a back and forth we need to do in this act anyway, and I think that might split it up a bit better.
Bannon
but we'll
is
get
alive
everyone's
and
quests
well.
first.
In no small way thanks to you, I would be willing to guess. Without him being here, I would have lost my sanity or my life a long time ago. Take this gift as a token of both our appreciation. Now that you have returned, and we have managed to sturdy ourselves once more abreast this mighty ship, I ask of you one more favor. Find that traitor Violenta and kill her. Though I wish to see her dead as revenge for her insurrection, Violenta has become something far worse under the radiation of Kitava's gaze.
Oh, good.
She must be stopped.
Yeah, so I actually realized that particular plot point when I played through the game very recently after, obviously, you know, starting this playthrough. And yeah, Violentia actually betrays everyone and becomes a boss in this area. And I feel kind of stupid that I didn't put that together earlier, but yeah.
Now that the Brine King is nothing but crab meat, his sunken domain, the ancient city of Soartha is ripe for the plundering. Your granddaddy once dedicated a good portion of his sailing life trying to hunt down the location of that monolithic city. Then, while he were otherwise indisposed, yours truly tried to follow in his gnarled footsteps, track down the teardrop, a pearl as big as your head, carved with the clues to the city's subaquatic location. I was this close to completing my grandfather's legacy when those damn Templar privateers raided me ship and took off with the teardrop, threw it in their reliquary here in Theopolis. As it were, now's the perfect time to retrieve that dazzling pearl. Think you can nab it for me? I'll make it worth your while. Maybe tick it off the list of things you owe me.
Yeah, alright. That sounds good.
Time.
Welcome ye to Oriath. Smell that fresh land lubber air. Ain't nothing like the air in Theopolis, full of debauchery and pollution, hidden neath the garb of them holy Templars. Seems the place has changed a fair bit since last I were here. A lot more blood and entrails than what I remember. Well, best Lily and I stay here, where it be safe. You journey on ahead, matey, and see what blimey buggers you get to kill next.
You know me too well, Whalem.
Say, you're not in the market for a new cutlass or anything, are ya? Recently unlocked the Black Crest's old armory. Found a whole shitload of weaponry down there from another time. If you fancy it, be glad to show you my stock. See if there's anything in there you'd like to pick up. Was a time when the ladies would be begging for a bit of old Whalem. But I ain't felt the warm caress of a woman in a long time, and it wounded me dreadful. During my time on the sea, I heard tale of Queen Exile and her penchant for using this land as a kind of vault for all her special shinies. One such shiny be her famed love potion, supposed to attract the drinker's ideal mate to their loins, even if that mate be far across the sea. Old Queen Exile kept the liquid in the skull of her favorite lover. Them damn Templars probably got their hands on it by now, and the potion's bizarre container has me thinking they probably went and tossed it into the ossuary along with the rest of the bones they got lying around. Exile, be you the friend I believe you to be, then find a potion for me, so that I can experience true love once more.
I knew the quest item was called Elixir of Allure, but, like...
Fair winds and calm seas.
I forgot that was the context of that, and it's a Queen Edziri concoction, you know, very safe thing to imbibe or use, thing belonging to Queen Edziri of the Val. Jesus. Alright, one thing I lied. I'm gonna see if I can exhaust any dialogue anyone has towards Bannon, because I'm probably gonna talk about Bannon in this next little leg of the
Good tidings to
thing.
you. That Bannon's a real siren if you ask me. Even after the beating he's taken. Bulging muscles, pretty yellow hair. I'd be willing to bet the barrel of his piece is longer than a ship's mast as well, if you be understanding me drift. It's a shame in all honesty that he's one of them foolish holy men. Though even that ain't so bad. Lily Roth loves herself a challenge.
You're gonna have to fight Lonnie for that one, I'm afraid, Lily.
Good to see you still lousy, good-for-nothing blackguard. In all me years at sea, never have I ever serviced a filthy blackguard on my lovely ship. If the Brine King still drew breath, I tell you, having this Bannon aboard would be an affront to the Lord of Sultan Scale. Him and his kind have hung, drawn, and courted too many of ours. I don't rightly trust him. Not at all.
Fair.
Always keep your eyes on the horizon.
Yes?
Yeah,
For
you've already been
freedom.
pretty clear.
We live in...
Did those. And the rest, yeah. So, Bannon's an interesting figure here. So far as I remember, he's not a particularly devoted Templar or Holy Man. Like, he's obviously, he grew up in Theopolis, so, like, you know, he definitely does, like, have some kind of... Or, he grew up under the theocracy, which, like, and being a man of his station, I'd imagine that that's a, like, just, like, tacit, well, it's implied that he obviously believes in some of the doctrine, otherwise I feel like he wouldn't have gotten the place he has. But it is notable that he's not, like, super on board with, like, the deep religious and fanatical things that, like, oh, what's his fucking name? Dominus and that were on about. Where the fuck is the crossing here? I hate the way they redid this area. Sometimes they block off just, like, the entirety of one side, or of a section of the rooftops, and you have to, like, backtrack to go and find a path. It's not particularly fun, I must admit. But yeah, like, he's an interesting figure because, like, he kind of just lucks into Innocence, the Innocence's spirit, like, being bound to him, and he seems to take it pretty much in stride, and, like, so, oh man, this is gonna get into some esoteric shit. Well, not esoteric, but, some very niche shit, is probably the word for it. There's a,
Into the heart of madness I tread.
Yeah, you sure do, girl. There's an argument that often happens between, like, theists and atheists, where, like, the contention of, like, what an atheist actually is, or what an agnostic person actually is kind of sometimes a bit nebulous. So, like, someone who believes that there isn't any gods, or believes it's impossible to know if there is a god, can get confused, and I don't want to be the edgy kind of atheist here, but, like, what? Because I'm not atheist, I think I'd probably identify as agnostic. But I think people who do believe, or do have, like, fervent belief, often pin people who don't as, like, well, you would believe if there was a god, and obviously here's the reasons we think there is one. But, like, I would contend that, like, the acknowledgement of whether or not there is a god isn't even, like, well, it's material to that definition, but, like, often what gets implied is that a person who believes there is a god must therefore believe in, or, like, would obviously, with no qualms, follow that god. And I guess from my perspective, like, even if the, like, even if some religion's god did exist, like, I don't think that's just like, oh, well, obviously that's a religion everyone has to follow now, and obviously everything that follows from that religion is good and should be followed because that god is real. Like, I don't think that follows. Like, and Bannon's an interesting example of, like, the kind of, like, it feels a little bit like the path someone would take when they're like, oh, I don't know if the god actually exists, and then find out it does, in the mind of people who think that God is real means you must follow them. Because he starts off, like, again, kind of, not agnostic, but definitely not as, like, he definitely seems to have some doubts about, like, the person Innocence existing and what that would mean. Whereas, like, for the rest of it, he's kind of, like, well, the rest of it, he's obviously, well, at least, like, the traditions, he's probably, yeah, it's hard to say because obviously Bannon doesn't talk about it, but I believe, for example, that, he may not think Innocence is a literal real person, or, like, the stories are necessarily 100% accurate, but he may believe in the teachings of those things and the, like, beliefs therein. So he goes from thinking that Innocence may or may not exist, but obviously has some belief in the theological beliefs of Oriath, or Theopolis specifically. But in coming to know Innocence very literally and directly, that he does in fact exist, he seems to change his tune a bit. Which, like, obviously, like, you know, if it turned out that there was a god that is real, I wouldn't begrudge people for being like, oh shit, maybe we should actually follow that. Like, it changing people's minds is not necessarily, isn't, surprising or, like, something to be, like, you know, called out or anything. But I do think that it reminds me of, like, the obvious implications a lot of people who do believe in religions think atheists would, like, turn on a dime if they suddenly found out gods were real. It's like, I don't think that follows. Because, you know, like, and I think with, like, it'd be different, I guess it depends on the religion, because obviously some, like, theologies aren't, like, I think there's a word for only having, like, a single deity in it. I don't remember the... Monodeific? I feel like I'm making up words. But, like, there's obviously a difference between, like, oh, you know, the Christian god is real, and then, well, actually the Greek pantheon is real. It's like, well, yeah, that would obviously have different implications, right? Because, like, maybe a person becomes a devotee of Zeus as opposed to, like, Aphrodite. But, like, just the, oh, fuck, what am I trying to say? The presence of a deity does not, like, mean that everyone would like, follow them. And, like, again, pantheistic religions would probably be a good example of that, because if they became real, yeah, like, people might follow one or the other, and, like, they would be acknowledging that, you know, certain gods are, real, because obviously they follow one, but that doesn't mean that they'd, like, take the lessons from all of them and apply them. Also, yeah, Valentia. You see much of her? Oh, yeah, you can kind of see, her outfit a bit. Although it's a bit mangled, and there are other bodies there now, too, so, yeah. Oh, go fuck yourself, Valentia.
You return from your hunt triumphant. Then Violenta is dead. I wish I could say that a celebration is in order, but in our current existence, I've had all I can stomach of banquets and feasts. Here.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, shit. Get some more in there. We love our spell suppression. Oh boy, where do we go from here? I could probably fill out the life nodes here. I could probably grab this phasing node again. I could also travel out to here. I think we do... I don't remember if we grab, the mana reservation efficiency stuff. It's not gonna matter, because I don't think I'm gonna get enough points to actually do that. Maybe I should... I could also go for the rest of this, which would probably... Actually, that would probably cap out my spell suppression, which would be good. Yeah. Alright, let's...
Greetings.
Exhaust Lani's dialogue.
In another life, perhaps Lily and I would have sailed the oceans together. I enjoy her presence and the conversation she brings. She has a call for adventure, coupled with a kind of optimism I rarely see. I hope that once all of this settles down, we might remain friends.
Oh.
I don't quite enjoy Whalem as much as I do his granddaughter, but Lily favors him, and so I will too. Unless he does something truly horrid that forces me to revoke my opinion.
Oh. Eyeing that Ixer of Allura now again.
A dark angel on your shoulder, perhaps? In another time, the presence of this god would trouble me, perhaps even frighten me. But in these days, I cannot afford the sensation of surprise. If he's helped you this far, as you say, then one might expect he will help you all the way to the bitter end, and that is good enough for me. Kitava's appetite has grown bigger than even his devotees had expected. His hunger moves faster now than his followers can keep up. I suppose the canals were the perfect answer to their problem, really. They converted them into one giant feeding trough to bring food to his mouth at a speedier rate. Before their god rose from the depths, Utula and his cultists had direction. They wished to see Kitava free to stage his horrifying banquet. I was foolish enough to believe these theological mumblings as symbols for Karui freedom. Now that their prophecies have come to fruition, the cultists have lost their minds. It's hard enough to believe the end times of your chosen religion will ever happen, let alone to last longer than the final pages of your holy book.
That is a fantastic way of saying that. God damn. And yeah, this must be fucking horrifying. Well, actually, talking about the pantheistic religions, like, yeah, like, to move further from that, like, yeah, imagine you're, like, worshipping Aphrodite, for example, and, like, you know, there tends to be some stories about, like, Hades, and maybe, or you could even go on, like, the way that Hades is currently going, with, like, Kronos and the Titans coming back, and potentially, the Titanomachy and the Gigantomachy. Like, imagine if you were worshipping just, like, even Persephone. You were worshipping Persephone, and then it turns out that the fuckers that, like, really like the Titans actually invoke the Titanomachy again. Like, oh, okay. I thought y'all were just, like, cool with, like, the Titans coming back and, like, helping humanity in that. And, like, you know, not letting, you know, metaphors for, like, we should forgive the Titans and shit like that. But no, then you just let the Titans come back and now they're killing everyone. Why? What the fuck? Like, yeah, it's actually kind of horrifying in that way. That, like, you know, you may be you know, worshipping, like, a very specific and lesser god who has a very focused thing that you, like, believe is a very fundamental part of society. And then one other part is just like, nah, fuck it. We're gonna, like, release this, like, we're gonna release this thing that either purely benefits us or, like, is, like, just cool to us in concept, and we'll just deal with the consequences. Like, we don't have a plan beyond that. Just get to that point, and then we're all good. That definitely doesn't feel relevant in this time, in current year at all. Anyway, back to the rest of the campaign. But yeah, like, oh man. Like in a non-pantheistic religion, it's probably a bit more believable that, like, oh, the devil worshippers have done that. But when it's like, oh yeah, this other god that, like, you know, is a little, you know, a little looked down on, but, like, you can definitely interpret in a way that should help our society, our humanity and society, gets like, no, actually, this was the worst of the worst ways to interpret it. It's just like, bro, what? But I just believe that, like, you know, I just believed Hinokoro was, you know, the mother of death. I didn't realize, like, you know, just having people believe in Kitava would have caused all this shit to happen. Because you could argue that what happened to Kitava is unjust and wrought by the gods that, like, you know, people worship. And that there is something to actually believing in Kitava in that way. Or thinking that Kitava should be freed because, like, you know, no mortal thinking sentient being should be enslaved. But then, like, they're like, oh yeah, and now we'll just devour the world. And it's like, fucking y'all! And I am curious if, like, the logistics behind this is that the belief, not necessarily that the belief in Kitava logically follows to this, but rather the being Kitava and the being Kitava had a bigger effect on people than was expected, and that the figure of Kitava was so different from that belief in him created an inroad for Kitava's corruption to actually affect people. I'm very curious how that actually... What the fuck? Gnagan Ia Y Rungul Gusla Fatu Sawatha Ga Megalon. Indecipherable verse. Jesus Christ. Alright, Lily, we got your Tome of Cthulhu. What the fuck?
Exile, you're a giant among men. You got no idea how long I have yearned to have this beauty once more in my hands. The teardrop is surprisingly still in pretty good condition. Not too typical of the baubles them Templars like to steal. We'll stick around a while longer, but once things settle down, my grandfather and I will be setting sail with Sir Arthur firm in our sights.
I see. Good for her.
Not much I can say about that raving monster. While he still breathes, it fares ill for all of us. There ain't no amount of ocean we can put between us and him that Katava won't see as simply an extra jug of wine in his cup.
True.
Every cell-dwelling lad or lass knows of Sir Arthur. They call it a city, but more of a slaughterhouse than anything else. Old Salty himself ruled over the place, treating its citizens as morsels from his own personal pantry. Those who weren't devoured outright were picked to try continue his family line. They became fishwives like that pretty young Nessa near ended up being. Well, the Brine King, as you know, was forced into a slumber beneath the ocean, and the city was said to have joined him there as well. A few folk managed to flee from the collapsing coral shards, start new lives for themselves, but I'll be reckoning they left all their valuables behind.
Fucking pirates.
Were a long time ago now. But them privateers took the teardrop, threw it in the reliquary, then took yours truly and threw me in those goddamn slave pens. Far as I can tell, they never did work out what the teardrop were for. Lucky me, I suppose. It was tough, but with the help of a few other undesirables, I managed to find me way out of them pens and into the reliquary. Made an attempt to burgle back what was burgled from me. Boy, did we sure underestimate the size of them guards the Templars had on the place. Only I managed to escape unscathed. Me accomplices weren't to be so lucky. They ended up in Ray-classed, much like yourself. Fact, I believe you may have crossed paths. Creighton? Elira? Oak?
Oh my god. Wow, I had no idea Lily had a connection with those three. Holy shit. Those are the three bandits we meet in Act 2. Oak being kind of the strength one, Elira being the witch, and Creighton essentially being a stand-in for the shadow. Wow.
Time and tide wait for no man.
I had no fucking idea.
Greetings.
How many more dialogue trees do we have? Okay. So this next one... Oh, this next one we actually go to the Elixir of Allure, so we'll come back for Leyland then. Damn. See? Shit like that I just, like, completely flew over my head. Or at least, like, forgot. That's awesome. I do, Yeah, it's like, one of the things you sometimes don't appreciate in this game is how long Oriath has been just, like, throwing people onto Ray-class as punishment. Like, it's been going on for a long fucking time. Ooh. Hold on a second. Relish hunger, dear faithful, for hunger is the one true state of spiritual abundance. When one is hungry, they desire more, and therefore align themselves with the will of the mighty Kitava. Beware, my followers, of the satiated, or the satisfied man, sorry, for he is the very pattern and image of blasphemy. The Holy Book of Hunger by High Priest Utula. Like, yeah, it's just like... God. I do, like, I wonder, too, like, how much, how much just, like, if you were just hungry, like, the literal thing and not, like, you know, hungry for adventure or any shit like that. Jesus Christ. Did they... I never actually thought about the implications of this because, because obviously, like, for the story, it's just like, we throw all the bones in here to stop you going there, so you go into a different pit. But, like, the idea that, like, this is all fresh bodies that have been put in here is... Ugh. Also, I have to wonder, too, if there were ever any undead in Theopolis before the whole Kitava thing happened. Because there's the whole thing about, like... Well, I guess we're not on Rayclast, so, like, it doesn't necessarily have the thing here. It must be something to do with Kitava, then. Or more to do with Kitava. Oh. The final.
A leader cannot simply stride forward into the future and expect his people to be able to follow. A leader must look over his shoulder so that he can witness and understand the consequences of the path he has chosen. To ensure that his people are still with him, to ensure that he has not become lost.
Oh god, I love all of those writings because, like, there is some truth to all of them, but there's always, like, a little bit of a thing you can tell that it's, like, this is, like, throwing people under the bus to see, or, like, not necessarily not having a care if something happens to the people you lead, but rather that it is inevitable that, like, those people will suffer consequences and you just need to correct them. It's like, fucking, yeah, okay. Whoa. Famous for her many lovers, those that did not come willingly to Atziri came by liquid persuasion. Is that a euphemism?
Hello.
You know what? I don't want to know the answer to that question.
Bless your boots, Exile! Me lady problems will be over at last. Let's give it a go then. I feel nothing. Blast it all to the ocean depths. Ruined. Oh, them years sitting around in that damned ossuary. The love's magic fizzled right out of the damn thing. Ah, well, can't blame a man for trying. Anyway, here's a little something for your effort.
Yeah, sorry, Whalem. It might not work on undead people.
Nah, there's a woman who can hold her own. Oh, hey, look at her.
I knew it.
A marvelous specimen of the female persuasion. Aye, reminds me of Meredith, me long-lost sweetheart. Oh, would it be that I could have a woman like that at my side once more? Someone to stare out over the bow into the salt spray of the sea with. Someone to warm the cockles of me heart. And a few other things in my bed at night. Oh,
yeah, I got it, Whalem. Lily is a lot more eloquent than you are, my dude, and you are far older. I would expect you to be far more eloquent.
Me thinks Lily
or
is
coy.
fixing to have her way with that damn blackguard. Well, I tell you, not if I have anything to say about it. Look at me. Never thought I'd see the day when old Whalem were to be the prudish grandfather. Yet here we are. Damn conscience will be the death of me.
Yeah.
Here are
Good tidings to you.
I feel like Lily might have some disagreements about that anyway.
Good
What
tidings
did you have to say about
While you've been
these?
skulking about, I've managed to do a bit of hunting on my own. Got a hole full of baubles and trinkets here, which I managed.
Oh yeah, I think we already had that
What
at
do you
one
need?
point.
Greetings.
Alright. Not a lot more dialogue. Yeah, we go back to the Ravaged Square now, and then we go to, the temple. Or Chamber of Innocence, rather. And there's the horns. So that's our end goal, but unfortunately we need the staff to actually get rid of them. Alright. Final stretch. So I didn't get the third ascendancy, but oh.
Chaos is the natural state of things.
Hey man, long time no see. Really wish you would have came through the first time I went through this area, because yeah. Like, you can start seeing delirium mirrors, I think, specifically from after you kill Innocence, but, or defeat Innocence, rather. And there's a unique line for the delirium mirror in every single place you can find, in every area you can find the mirror during the campaign. I think I still have, like, I think I still have a Word doc, or, like, a notepad file with, all of them in there. I should probably use that with my, if I do the PowerPoint presentation on this shit. I think we're good. I don't need any more of this. The deeper you get into a delirium, the tougher the monsters get. So yeah. Don't really want to keep that on for a long time in the campaign, because more valuable to actually kill shit once you get into endgame, obviously. Getting up to like 7 or 8 blades per thing now. I want to chalk that up a little bit to the mana, but also like we're getting to the stage in the game where it's starting to approach the map density, or sorry, the monster density of maps. Which means that there are more enemies to ignite, which means the spell loop happens quicker. So as long as I actually have mana to spend, then the loop goes and goes and goes. It's 2%. Maybe the actual flat 10. Maybe the flat 10 mana was actually a better get. That would require 60, whereas 2% would require... Oh, no, 2% would require 50. Oh, 2%, not 1%. Yeah, it'd be 12 mana per kill. Whereas... Oh, it's right at the end, you asshole! Fuck. Ugh! Committed suicide? Really? How the fuck did I manage that? I don't think I got cursed. Pretty confident I would have seen that happen. I suppose I didn't see it the first time that happened, but, you know. Oh, either that, or it's one of those things where, the life spending happens before the heal, which means I didn't have enough life to actually survive the cost of the damage taken. That might be it, honestly. Alright, at least it's a short walk back. Also, yeah, having that one passive that just gives me some phasing by default is definitely a big boon. I'm not playing around with this motherfucker. Die.
And stay dead this time.
Oh yeah, shit, I've got a lot of stuff I need to throw away. Grab that too. Alright. We got the staff. Alright, Bannon. It's sad, but I think he has to die.
I fear I have not been entirely honest with you, my friend. While it is true that this staff can forge a path for us through Kitava's horns, it has the ability to revitalize innocence into waking fully. And that is where the staff's true power resides. In this act, I will become his host in the fullest sense. And together, he and his brother Sin will be able to ally with you against the forces of darkness. I bid you farewell, Exile, for where my spirit is set to travel, there is no return. Win this battle. Defeat Kitava. Free our people.
Well.
I am reborn. A new god in a troubled land.
Brother, you have seen better days, I am sure. But for now, you must rouse yourself. We have work to do. If ever you wish to make right the wrongs of your past, help me now. As once I asked you in the early days of mankind. Do this for me, and I shall consider our quarrel to be at its end.
Go, do battle, anointed Exile. Though my brother and I will aid you, I sense the universe conspires for you to be the savior of our world on this day. Go.
Yeah, okay.
Bannon was a man whom I greatly admired, possibly even loved. My heart is grieved to see him depart from us and journey to the home of Hinekora. Yet, he sacrificed himself so that we might live, and stood true to his convictions. This god, this born-again innocence, fills me with unease. Though he appears repentant of his past transgressions, I do not believe he should be forgiven, nor that he should tread this earth any longer than is required.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
Remember, we do this.
Good tidings to you, old Bannon. I'd stake my bets on being a mighty fine demon in the sack. Can't go wrong with a man in uniform. Only now, he's gone and transformed into that pesky god of light. I gotta believe that the man is still in there somewhere, but finding my way into his bedsheets at this stage is proving more difficult than I first thought. Don't seem to be anything that'll budge him from wherever he's hiding. Not even an enrapturing roll in the hay with this future pirate queen. Seems to me that by letting old innocence take him over completely, it's like a leech sucking the life right out of him. He's gonna lose out on all them lusty joys of this world, and that ain't something I'd ever think fondly about.
Damn. It's kind of funny that she's still like, could that still work though? Like,
to the depths.
Goddamn, girl. I mean, I get it. Also, something I didn't realize is, like, I guess he might have, like, exploded. Can you... Hey, Innocence, can you look at me? Do you look a bit... Fucking hell. Ah! Fuck!
Greetings.
Stop it. I can't really see him. Oh, okay, wait, there we go. He looks a bit generic. I don't know if that actually looks like, Bannon or not. Because, yeah, the implication kind of is that, like, Bannon became Innocence. Like, his spirit was kind of consumed. Not that Innocence came out of him and killed Bannon as a result of the extraction, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's fucking Lily. Goddamn.
Bone and corruption shall not impede the path of purity.
This time, I must succeed.
Oh, don't worry, girl. You will. And yeah, we're on the final stretch now. Just kill Kitava, and then that's it. Obviously, like, there's a lot we haven't talked about, and one thing I will talk about before we end the stream is just the, Well, actually, no, you know what? I may save that for the PowerPoint, because, like, it's a fair bit to get into, and if I keep this to just, like, let's look through just the campaign, then, yeah. Also, like, I'd rather have an audience for going through the cool shit about this setting, and unfortunately, the initial campaign lays a lot of the foundations for that's the good shit. I don't think the campaign itself is, like, fantastic. It's serviceable, ultimately. And admittedly, you know, this was made... Well, a lot of this was made back when they were still kind of putting together... When the people making this game were still learning to make a game. And, like, you know, hiring writers and stuff like that. So, like... It makes sense that the story's initial kind of foray into things isn't that great. And the Acts 5 through 10, which were added post the original release of the game, I think lay interesting groundworks in terms of the gods. Like, I've been talking about them a fair bit, and whilst there's a little bit to go into, like, it is spread thin across all those acts. Jeez, this is a lot longer than I was expecting it to be. Oh, hold on. There's a thing. I need to kill everyone, though. Alright. This is how it shall end. Kitava will rise, and a great cloud of black smoke will cover the sky. The glorious smell of cooking flesh shall entice even the most ardent of unbelievers to the faith, and together we will celebrate and eat at Kitava's table. Except for the people we murder to actually feed him. They will die. They will die and they will not join in the feast. Well, I guess technically they will be part of the feast, but not partaking in it. Feeding trough. Yeah, like, and I think it makes sense that, like, to some degree, the campaign has kind of become an afterthought for most players, because, like, it's interesting, but there's a lot to go through, and, like, the real cool stuff they keep adding at the end of the game, like, obviously there's some of it throughout the campaign, like, you see the, you know, the settlers of Calgar mechanics that are littered throughout it. But ultimately, like, a lot of the appeal of the game is in the end. So a lot of people like to go through this a fair bit because there's, like, less interesting stuff here, more interesting stuff at the end. And that is a thing that if... I'm honestly... You know what? I think I have kind of sold myself on, like, getting into Path of Exile 2. I might even stream it this afternoon, because, like, given the blow-up that's kind of happened recently, I'm actually super curious to, like, dive into that and hopefully provide feedback. Or at least add my voice to the feedback, depending on what I actually feel. But yeah. It kind of makes sense that the campaign's become an afterthought, and I think, like, you know, how much of an afterthought it's actually become is kind of indicative of how much I actually remember of it, which is not a lot, honestly. There's, like, the broader things, but there's, like, little things like Lily's connection with the three bandits and stuff like that that's just, like, completely lost to me. And we didn't even get to go through most of it. A lot of the really compelling stuff, in my opinion, happens in the end game. With, like, the Elder, the Shaper, the Eldritch Gods, the things we find out about Sin and Innocence in a League later on. Like, a lot of the really cool world building and lore stuff really happens then. So even for people who are hungry for the lore, like, going through the campaign is, like, you know, we've been there. We know that ground has been well trodden by people. And I like that GGG has been adding slowly, like, little things and, like, little rewards and stuff like that throughout the campaign with, like, some interesting, like, puzzles or things like that behind it. But ultimately, that is like, the campaign has gotten to a state where, like, 90% of people do not pay attention to it. Or rather, they speed through it fast enough that they can't really pay attention to it, because the interesting shit is at the end. And it's a hard thing to kind of balance between, like, making sure there is still something that can lead people through the game and help them, and, I mean, you know what, the discussion's been... This is not relevant to the campaign.
It all comes down to this moment to finally put an end to Kitava. Go, Exile. Together, we will save humankind.
There's been a lot of discussion about, like, whether you should be able to skip the campaign and stuff like that. And I'm not against the way GGG does it, in terms of, like, no, we want the campaign to also be a gear check. It's not just a tutorial, it's also a gear check. And, you know, just letting people do whatever and suddenly get into a position where they literally can't play the game anymore, or something like that. Or, you know, like the way Diablo 3 lets you start from level 1 and you just kind of go through the greater rifts as the only grind you ever go through. Like, that does have its own problems. Especially when it comes to, like, monster variety and the way they want to, like, tailor what monsters you see throughout the entire campaign, which is, you can see that evident in the way that Path of Exile 2 has gone. I think there is something to that. I don't think there's enough of the Path of Exile 1 campaign to make it that compelling, though, unfortunately.
I shall strike you down.
Alright. Get his ass. Oh, why'd you do the area denial immediately, you son of a bitch? Am I not triggering, like, any spell? Oh, no, there we go. Alright, here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. I was gonna say, I'm barely doing anything. What the fuck? Alright. And yeah, like, honestly, this right here is, I think, one of the best arguments for making, bosses in the campaign, like, a bit harder to kill. You can see, like, this is honestly, like, kind of tame in terms of the power some people get at the end of the campaign when it comes to killing bosses and that, and, like, I feel like I'm missing something. Something is not triggering the, my abilities as much as I think it should be. It's very strange. But, like, you can see that there's long periods where the boss is just completely immune to shit, and I can't do much about it, and I have to wait for Sin and Innocence to blast the boss until it gets down here, and then for 2 and a bit seconds I burst the heart, and then it immediately goes back into the, thing. And there's just not a lot of interesting variety going on. Like, I can tell, I would believe that, like, you know, they keep, the developers of the game keep getting to this point, and they're like, this kind of sucks. Like, not that it doesn't have any appeal or anything to it, but, like, the player power level has gotten to a degree that, like, yeah, that any boss we put in the game kind of, like, well, for the campaign, any interest you might have in the campaign, like, melts away because nothing is a challenge, and anything that would have been a challenge just kind of, like... Actually, sorry, let me rephrase what I'm saying. I get that they probably look at this, and be like, if we want to keep the campaign more interesting, these should be the highlight. Like, the bosses should be fun to fight, and they should be engaging, and not just, like, you know, pushovers that are invulnerable half the time.
After all this, can I finally be left alone?
I did all this so you people would leave me the fuck alone. Are we done with corruption now? Sin and Innocence better be fucking leaving this place. And on top of that, I better not see one more goddamn cultist try and raise their god. If I do, so help me, I will end all of you. Oh, fuck. Okay. I think the Ranger's become my second favorite player character in this. I think the Shadow and the Witch are honestly tied for me, but yeah.
It's over.
God, that's good.
We emerge victorious. It was always a fool's errand, yet somehow your courage has carried us through. I congratulate you, my friend. Your world may have exiled you, but there will always be a place for you at my table. You have given humanity a fighting chance. Though darkness still covers the face of the earth, there is now a ray of light to pierce it. The insatiable appetite of Gitava has been ruined, and you are no exile. Why, you are a hero worthy of praise. May your legend live on into eternity.
No.
Come, let us return to the others. They will be needing as many hands as possible for cleaning up this city.
No, I don't think I will, actually. I would like to be left alone. I'm not being a hero. Go fuck yourself.
It's over.
I don't want to hear another goddamn thing from y'all.
Innocence. You see now, don't you?
Little brother, please forgive me. It's as if I have been dreaming the most horrid nightmare. And now, at last, the haze of sleep lifts from my eyes. My vision is clear. Oh, by the gods, forgive me.
It is as true now as it was when we began. You and I are of the same flesh, cleaved from the same womb. You ask for my forgiveness. I give it to you freely.
But the things I've done, the countless millions I've murdered.
There will be time for all of that later. But for now, your people need you. Oriath needs you.
No. I cannot remain here amongst these ruins, amongst the corpses of my own making. These people, they need you, brother, and your hero, not me.
Then what? Where will you go? What will you do?
Isolation. I shall go south, as far south as one can travel in such a fleshly form. There are things I must think on. The redemption I need plan. If my conscience decides I am worthy of such a gift.
You would seek forgiveness in the ice at the bottom of the world.
I would. Should you let me?
Go. Seek out that which you need. Find who you are. Make pilgrimage. Journey on your path, brother. Only return to us one day.
Thank you, brother.
Sorry, I need to look up something real quick. I just realized something about that voice. Path of Exile 2 trailer.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance.
Why are you here? What is this?
That voice sounds very... The way Innocence is speaking sounds very similar to that figure. Huh. Huh.
Remember, humanity needs us.
Well, that's interesting. So, Path of Exile 2, the opening trailer, and we'll probably see this when I actually stream it. Might be this afternoon, I don't know. I'm thinking I won't do this as a weekend thing, because, like, A, my weekends, I want to get through more shit on the weekend that's not Path of Exile 2, and B, it's not the complete game. I'd rather keep a Path of Exile 2 stream on the weekend for, like, a league, or, like, actually going through the campaign. Which, obviously, I will be technically, because, yeah. But, Yeah, so the figure in the opening trailer that, like, warns the people about, you know, what that person is stealing has a similar voice echo to that of Innocence. Initially, I actually thought it was Sin. Because he had a seed of corruption. And that seemed to line up with, like, you know, the Dark Ember and creating the beast. Like, that just seemed like an easy one-to-one of, like, oh, yeah, of course Sin would still probably have something like that. And, you know what, when I start playing it, I'll probably talk about that a bit more. Because, like, I'll have to stake my claim to some theories before we go through it. So yeah, I don't think there's really a way for me to not, I don't think there's really a way for me to not... Yeah, it's like, do I care more about, like, oh, first reaction on stream and stuff like that, or the health of a game that I want to be very good? And it's probably the latter. So, like, if I have to give up being, like, pure for the first, like, full run-through, then fuck it, I'll do that. But yeah, that was a lot more similar to Innocence than I was expecting. Especially considering, like, the figure in question. Let me throw this up. Up the quality a bit. And then where is Chrome? There we go. Yeah, so you can see, like, the two blue glowing eyes and the dark kind of features. Obviously, this is in night and he's not lit up, but... And listen. Like, that sounds a lot more like the filter that's on Innocence than Sin. Because, Sin's... Actually, you know what? Let's compare the two voices. Because Sin's voice... Innocence has a bit of echo leading in to the voice line. Sin's is almost, like, is far more subtle and trailing off the words.
Yes. You needn't fret. The Dark Ember is still safely in my possession, and will remain so until our final confrontation with Kitava.
See, it's a lot more subtle, and even if there is a lead-in, it's very minute, and even the tail end is pretty short, but it's like, it's still present, right? But then you listen to Innocence.
You have heard my admission of guilt and my plea for forgiveness. If I sense in the glowing embers of your eyes...
Watch where it comes up to I don't blame you.
...to be rid of me. I don't blame you, mortal. Nor do I begrudge you for your continual anger. The sins I've committed, although bad enough, are made worse by the lens of pride I once viewed this world through. I agree with your judgment. And though I wish never to return from my banishment, I have made a promise to Sin that I shall one day rejoin this world. But until that day, I will remain in the furthest south, in a place of ice and ash, of blistering seas and abysmal storms. I shall meditate on my wrongdoings, until a way of making amends to the millions of lives I have murdered and ruined reveals itself to me.
Yeah, it's not... So, the effect is very similar, but the voice is kind of off? Not quite the same?
By the light of Ramako, you did it. You, a mortal, have crossed the threshold between God and man, and struck the Ravenous One asunder. I'd always held out hope that you would succeed, but at night, I would stay awake worrying that perhaps that hope was a foolish dream. But you've done it. You are no longer an exile, my friend. I honor you, and I'm certain the rest of the world will honor you as well.
Oh. There's one last line of that didn't get read, but okay. Oh well. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, what is... It's 20. Oh, yeah, and then you go down here to get the Storm Shroud shit.
It's funny, Ranger, that you had to fight across all of Rayclast and Oriath to win the right to finally be left alone.
Thank you.
I could do with some peace and quiet myself. Let's just you and me sail on out of here before they put us to work rebuilding. We can always visit once they're done. How's that sound? Just say the word and we'll set sail.
Set sail from Oriath.
Fantasy! That bloody sod is gone from our world. Can't tell you how many times I've heard them Karui savages gibbering in fear over that cannibal god.
Okay.
And of course there's...
Okay, Waylon.
There's horror to account for as well. I don't think there's a man, woman, or child in the world that won't be praising your name tonight over a glass of their finest grog.
Children?
Speaking of which, where's a man to go to find a little fire water around these parts?
Probably not Oriath anymore, my guy. Like, yeah. But yeah, that's the end of Path of Exile. And then
Good tidings.
one thing I will at least talk about a little bit, just to give some context for this, because we set sail from Oriath, and then we essentially jump years into the future. Oh, it's probably not gonna do the starting thing for me, because this is not my first character in this league. I wonder if Lily's got more to say now. I actually forget. But yeah, we're now on the shores of the Karui archipelago, or at least an island in there.
I should have never come back here. That Kirak is a mighty convincing salesman. I spent so much of my life voyaging across the briny deep, looting and pillaging. I never thought I'd end up working as a naval officer for the Citizen Vanguard. They're forgiving my pirating crimes in exchange for helping to build this town, as well as providing trade and transport. It'll be a quiet life, but rewarding in its own way. I'd rather be a seafarer than a foot soldier. Time and tide wait for no man.
God, I love that line. But yeah, essentially there's a huge time jump, and the reason for that is essentially that the events leading into the end game changed over time. So, for example, you know, we still got Lily and Waylon and that. We've got Jun, Alva, which we didn't see her too much. Helena's still here. Tane, who is no longer with us in the game, unfortunately, apart from right here, is here. Cassia, who we've been seeing for the Blight stuff, is over here. Nico's in his own corner there. Einhar's even here. But yeah, so what happens the first time you beat Kitava, you know, years and years ago, was you went back into Oriath, and from there you found out about another map device that was created by the Templar, and that something seems to be coming from it. I think, if I remember correctly, Zana was the one that helped you with that. So initially it was you go back to Oriath and start like looking through, like it was a bit of a Orgrimmar defeating Onyxia thing, where like they had the head of Kitava in the square of Oriath, and you were hailed a champion and all that. And then you went off and just kind of like ran into an eldritch horror threat, and you know, you had to solve that. But then the end game moved on. The threat of the Elder was expelled, and then your character doesn't end up when you restarted the game, or when you went through the next league after that update, your character kills Kitava and then like disappears, and then other people go and help Zana with the Elder and the Shaper, and they end up being, after completing their mission, they end up being driven mad by the Atlas, which is the map device, which is the place we go for the maps. And where are you guys going? Oh. And yeah, we're sending, like, other people into the Atlas too, not just us. I forgot that was a detail in here. But yeah, like, so... So your character reappears to fight the corrupted exiles that helped Zana defeat the Elder and Shaper. And when you defeat them, their leader, who is driven completely mad and thought lost, ends up destroying Oriath entirely. So, when that updated, you got dropped into Oriath, and I think, Kirak, who is over here, who is an endgame-only character
Hello.
at this point,
Hello.
wait, what was that?
Go with
Oh,
courage.
Yeah. Kirak is actually the one that approaches you and says, hey, we gotta go find this map device. I've heard some shit about it. You find the map device that, you know, your player originally used in, you know, leagues past, and it blows up immediately. So then you try and rebuild one to see, like, well, what the fuck is happening? We lost a bunch. Kirak lost his brother to the Atlas, and he thinks he's not dead. So you go back in there. Zana says, what the hell are you doing? I tried to seal everyone in here. So, for a while, you still went to Oriath at the end of this. What we're seeing here is actually the timeline moving on from that endgame. So, Cirrus, I think, was the exile who, like, completely disappeared after killing the Elder. He ends up destroying Oriath, and at the end of that, we go to these shores, as, like, a post-game thing. But then, once the timeline moved on to the Maven and the Eldritch gods, the start of the end game is actually post Cirrus blowing up Oriath, which is why we end up here. And the reason I bring that up is because of the way this story has progressed, there is story in the end game that is just no longer you can no longer experience. You don't get to learn about the Shaper the same way people did when it was the core endgame. You don't get to learn about, or you don't get to see the inciting incidents into what happened with the Conquerors of the Atlas, the exiles that helped Zana. And now, with this move on from Cirrus blowing up Oriath, Zana's gone as well. So you don't even get to meet one of the most pivotal characters in the entire game's, like, narrative history, because the game's endgame has moved on from that. It's a very odd place to be in, that, like, I can sit here and talk about the game all day, but there is stuff that I literally would need to pull up wikis to actually talk about. And that's one of the reasons I feel like doing a PowerPoint might be cool, like me digging through all of that again and relearning some things I may have forgotten. But I do think it's a shame the way this is played out, because there's, like, lore and objects that no longer exist in the game. There were entire leagues that essentially got deleted, that removed a bunch of stuff that was that, like, had core story that wasn't even, like, specifically the end game, but the league tied into the histories of characters involved in the core end game experience. And, like, as much as I really, really love this game and this universe and the way that this game has progressed, it's the one thing, I think, that leaves me wanting. The fact that I can't go back and actually experience these things, that I can't turn up, you know, all the memories of the Shaper you end up finding throughout the Atlas that tell you about his story, the experiencing some of the quest events, like, attached to that, everything that was kind of, like, gone as a result of synthesis being removed from the game, the core game. Yeah, this game is a success because of its iterative nature, and you've had a long time to iterate on it, and I'm really looking forward to when Path of Exile 2 manages to find its groove, what it will be able to accomplish. And I really hope they find some way to not do this thing again, where entire endgame storylines are just completely unexperienceable or anything like that. That you can't even, like, not even in, like, an area within this within, like, the Karui shores, is there, like, a museum of all the shit that's been turned up as a result of, the past, like, storylines concluding. Like, it'd just be really cool to have something like that here, and it wouldn't be too hard, because you just need, like, lore interactables, like we've seen throughout the campaign, that might either lead to a quest where you can essentially activate it and go like, okay, now here's a side quest you can do to experience the Story of the Elder. You don't need to do that, but, like, yeah, you can go and experience that if you want. I think there are ways of working that back into this thing, and especially with the nature of the Atlas, which I'm not going to go too much into right now, but, like, we've already seen multiple characters being drawn into what I think is the Atlas, and those places are shaped by the desires of the person. So, like, with that kind of narrative device, they have a lot of really, they have a lot of freedom to just bend what you're doing in the endgame to whatever wills they want. And they have done that, like, a lot successfully, I think. It's just, you know, the leading from the campaign to the endgame that, like, kind of missteps for me. But, like, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Like, you could justify it as, like, Kirak says, so just in case you want to learn about the things that have happened before, because they kind of are important to know, narrative-wise, we've got some things, experimental stuff off to the side that you can invoke that will help you shape the Atlas into the way it used to be. And you get to see the Shaper invading most of your maps for a while, if only to drop those lore things and lead you toward what would have been the old endgame. You know, talking a little bit about, like, the things leading up to chasing the Conquerors of the Atlas into the Atlas. Seeing the synthesis story unfold in the same way it did before. Maybe even, like, hey, we had an Exile that was just, like, trying to find all those Delirium mirrors, and he just wrote down every fucking interaction he's had with them, and it's actually just a record of all of the campaign voice lines of the Strange Voice. Like, there are so many ways you could flavor this that, like, especially when there are essentially people like you in canon walking around the Atlas as well. Like, there are literally rogue exiles. You could just say, oh yeah, we hired this one guy, he had a real interest in the, Delirium stuff, and he found all the voices. And the funny thing is, like, there actually exists an organization that was essentially like that, and they were the ones that created the Scarabs. And this is another interesting one, where, like, the Scarab descriptions used to speak of people as part of the Order of the Jinn, which is an offshoot or related to the order that Jun was a part of, that researched a lot of deadly things, like before the Exile gets there. Things like Breach, the Legion, the Kalguran stuff, the Atlas, the Abyss, Blight, Essence, like literally everything. There was a character associated with all of them. One of the most important ones, and the interesting ones to me, because I like the Trial Master, is the Ultimatum ones, which talk about a character who was experienced in the Val history, but then was consumed by an unfortunate fate, and it's very much it implies who that person became eventually. But that stuff is now gone because because all of the Scarabs got reworked. That lore is just nowhere in the game again. The only reason we can still see some of them is because people have archived the descriptions for all of these things. And I think it's a real shame that, like, a lot of this stuff kind of gets lost in the face of, like, progressing the game forward. And I hope that as they're, like, considering more about, like, making the story... making the campaign more enjoyable and making sure people... and, like, putting more into the story, that they do actually have more considerations around this shit. I really do, because I think it's a real shame that someone who might actually be, like, really interested in the history of this game and, like, a lot of the events that they may not have been able to experience, that the game does nothing to be able to, like, get you up to speed, or even in an abridged version actually catch you up on things that happened. The synthesis stuff especially is, like, one of the key components to, like, a hell of a lot that happens in the endgame Atlas story stuff. But yeah, that'll be a rant for another time, I think. And that is going to be the end of our lore through. Oriath is kind of fucked. where we've the player character is now time skipped for us. But there's a lot that happens in between those times that can no longer be experienced, which I'll probably try and cover if I ever do the PowerPoint of this. I just feel like I need a couple people on board to have a back and forth with. Like, some guaranteed people I can at least banter with, because I don't find it as appealing when there's, like, no one else to talk to live, if that makes sense. And if my streams with Mina have taught me anything, it's like maybe I should actually be having people on stream a lot more, because it helps to have someone to kind of banter with in the midst of stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to be it for this weekend. Didn't quite go to plan, and, you know, it's not going to go to plan for the afternoon if I have anything to say about it, Path of Exile 2 wise. Yeah. So, during the week, honestly, it might be Path of Exile 2. Like, if I'm going to actually pick that up, I don't want to take up time on the weekend. So, it'll happen during the week. There's a very good chance I might do that a fair bit. It'll honestly depend on, you know, how I feel and stuff like that, but I think that's going to be the plan. I think this week I'm going to throw myself into Path of Exile 2, and I want to try and give some feedback, because if the game is struggling to find its feet in early access, I want to try. Like, if I can contribute at all, fuck it, I want to. Because, listen, I played Diablo 3 launch day. I played through Wilson. Like, I've played through some fucking abysmal... What people have considered abysmal ARPGs. And I was like, yeah, it's alright. Not great. I never got through Grim Dawn, for example, which is probably one I should revisit, honestly. Because that has a system that reminds me a lot of the Last Epoch one. Fuck, maybe I should do Last Epoch as a story run-through as well. I don't particularly like Last Epoch's story, but I think it's like a fantastic foundation for what could come. Really curious to see where they end up going. But yeah. We'll see. So I think during the week it's probably going to be Path of Exile 2. I think I'm pretty set now on, like, yeah, I want to try and get into the beta period, or the early access period, and start giving feedback. I want to try and help. So that'll probably be during the week. Next weekend, I think we're going to swap around the usual order of things. I think we're going to do Ace Attorney on my Saturday. And then on Sunday... I think we're going to go back to 16. I need to message Newest Girl about the point of no return thing, actually. Because I don't know how far back... Well, because I didn't technically complete the game because the game crashed. I don't know if I have to complete the game, if there's any benefit to completing the game, or if I just get up to the point of no return and just go and do the DLC. Because, like, effectively the save point I have before that point, I think, is, like, me pretty much maxed. So, like, I don't think there's any reason I should go and beat the game before doing the DLC again, but, yeah. We'll see. But that's kind of the plan going forward, I think. Yeah. Lot of turmoil happening in Path of Exile right now, but I might be very stubborn about it in terms of my faith. I might be very in terms of my faith in GGG, even though they are clearly making missteps, and at least in my opinion, like, I feel like they should be doing their development more rapidly and not waiting every 3 months to just upheave the entire state of the game. But yeah, I like this series. I want to see it continue. But yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how long Path of Exile 2 is going to take to download. I don't know if it'll happen tonight. But we'll see. We'll see if something happens tonight. So yeah, thank you very much for watching live on the VODs. I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a lovely day, and hope to see you all next time.